My child, be still for a moment and listen, because I am speaking directly to the place inside you that has fought, bled, prayed, and survived more than you've ever said out loud. Hear me, it's done. You actually made it through. Yes, this message is for you. You who thought the storm would swallow you. You who questioned whether you'd ever breathe freely again. Pause now, for what I am about to unfold is not a gentle whisper. It is a holy declaration, a divine unveiling of what your spirit has longed to hear. You are standing on the edge of revelation, and I will not let you miss what comes next. I have watched you through every storm, and now I lean in close and say to you, listen, it's done. Yes, my child, you truly made it through. You do not yet realize how significant this moment is, how holy this place is where you are standing right now, between what tried to break you and what I am about to build with you. You see only your tiredness, your scars, your memories of the struggle, but I see the victory that has already been written over your life. You look at yourself and say, I'm barely standing, but from my view, you are still standing, and that means the battle did not win. You survived nights that whispered to you that you were finished, days that told you that nothing would ever change, moments when your own thoughts turned into storms inside your mind. But even then, I was there, closer than your breath, nearer than your own heartbeat, watching every wave that crashed over you, measuring every blow so it would not be the one that destroyed you. You thought you were alone in that darkness, but you were never alone, not for a single heartbeat. I was in the room when you could not sleep. I was beside you when you stared blankly at the ceiling, wondering if anything would ever feel normal again. I was listening when you said nothing because your pain had no words left. You did not hear me, but I heard every silent cry. I saw the moments when you wanted to give up, when you were too tired to pray, when you didn't know what to ask for anymore, and yet you still got up, still took another step, still chose to live through one more day. That, my child, was not your strength alone. That was my hand lifting you when your legs felt like they were made of dust. You kept thinking, I can't do this. And yet you did, not because you were strong enough, but because I refused to let the storm have you. Every time you felt like you had reached your breaking point, I quietly reinforced what was cracking inside you. I held together what you thought was falling apart. You didn't see it, but I was shielding your mind when the lies came rushing in like a flood, saying you were a failure, unloved, forgotten, cursed. I was whispering truth under those lies, not loudly, not to pressure you, but steadily. I am here. I have you. I am not leaving. And now, after all of it, after the long nights, after the seasons that felt like they would never end, after the questions I have not yet fully answered, I say to you with authority and tenderness, you made it through. Not barely, not accidentally, intentionally, purposefully by my design. The storm that tried to drown you is now behind you, and though you may still feel water in your lungs and trembling in your soul, I have already decreed an end to that chapter. Do not despise your fatigue. It is the mark of a warrior who did not retreat. Do not despise your tears. They were the seeds of the healing I am now bringing. You are standing on the other side of something you thought would kill you, and I am standing here with you, holding your hand, saying, look at me. You survived. You endured. You are still mine. And this very moment, is the evidence that I never let you go. Hear me as I draw you closer. You survived what was designed to shatter you, and though you still feel the echo of those battles in your bones, you are standing in a place that once felt impossible. You thought the pressure would crush you, the weight would suffocate you, the sorrow would swallow you whole, but I had my hands beneath you the entire time, steadying every part of you that was trembling, strengthening every part of you that felt fragile. You measured your progress by your pain, but I measured it by your perseverance. You looked at yourself and saw weakness, weariness, and wounds, but I saw courage rising every time you chose to breathe through a moment that threatened to undo you. Even when you whispered that you had nothing left, I placed strength inside your spirit like a quiet flame that refused to die. It wasn't loud. It didn't roar. It didn't look like the strength you expected. Yet it kept you alive, kept you pressing forward, kept you from collapsing when the battle went on longer than you ever imagined it would. And yes, you wondered if you would survive what tried to break you, because everything in that season felt sharp. Every disappointment, every unanswered question, every closed door, every wave of fear that crashed suddenly and without warning. You didn't know how to hold all of it, and you didn't have to, because I was holding you. You didn't know how to navigate those storms, and you didn't have to, because I was guiding you through waters that would have drowned you without me. You thought the silence meant I was absent, but my silence was the shield that kept you from being overwhelmed by your own emotions. I never step away, not even for a breath, not even for a moment. What threatened to break you only revealed how strong my grip on you truly was. Now you stand here, bruised perhaps, weary perhaps, but alive, breathing, moving forward. That is no accident. That is evidence of my care. You survived because my hands, those unseen hands that you doubted at times, were holding you when everything inside you felt like it was falling apart. Listen to me, because I need you to truly understand this. I saw every tear you hid from the world, the ones that soaked into your pillow in the quiet hours of the night, the ones you wiped away quickly before anyone could notice, the ones you swallowed down because you didn't want to burden anyone or appear weak. I saw the way fear pressed heavily on your chest, stealing your breath, making your heart race with dread over things you didn't know how to control. Others saw you functioning, surviving, pushing through, but I saw what was happening inside, the part you protected so fiercely, the part you didn't know how to articulate. I saw the moments when your thoughts spiraled, when anxiety whispered worst-case scenarios, when you tried to pray but only managed to exhale broken fragments. I was there when you curled into yourself, when you felt the world shrinking around you, when darkness felt thicker than hope. I saw it all, not with judgment, not with frustration, but with a love so deep that I sat beside you in every trembling moment without leaving. And my child, I want you to know this. Not one of those tears was wasted. Not one of those fearful nights was ignored. When fear wrapped itself around your chest, I wrapped myself around your spirit. When your heart felt too heavy to carry, I carried it with my own strength. When you felt paralyzed, I whispered peace that steadied you, even if you didn't recognize it as my voice at the time. You thought your tears were signs of weakness, but I counted them as seeds. Seeds of healing, seeds of awakening, seeds of deeper connection to me. You survived those nights not because fear loosened its grip, but because my presence tightened mine around you. Every cry you thought no one heard reached my heart instantly. I was not distant. I was not silent out of indifference. I was sitting with you in the shadows, holding you through the shaking, waiting with you until the weight lifted enough for you to breathe again. And now, as you look back on those nights, understand this truth. The same God who sat with you in your darkest hours is the God now leading you into the light you once prayed for but couldn't imagine. You were never abandoned, not even for a heartbeat, and you never will be. Hear the truth that penetrates deeper than emotion. Even when you felt absolutely nothing, I was carrying you. You assumed numbness meant distance, as though your inability to feel me meant I was no longer near. But numbness is not abandonment. It is often the final defense of a heart that has endured too much for too long. When your emotions shut down, mine did not. When your heart felt cold, mine burned with compassion. When your spirit felt heavy with emptiness, I held you as gently and securely as I do when you are overflowing with faith. Your lack of feeling did not diminish my love, nor did it weaken my involvement in your life. In fact, those were the moments when I carried you the most, because I knew you didn't have the strength to carry yourself. And I want you to understand this holy mystery. You made it through seasons you don't even remember fighting, because I fought them for you. You survived days when you couldn't think straight, when you couldn't pray, when you couldn't hope, when everything inside you felt hollow, not by your strength, but by mine. I lifted the weight you couldn't bear, the burdens you didn't have the capacity to process, the fears that were too overwhelming to confront. You moved forward not because you felt strong, but because my strength was working quietly underneath your weakness. You saw numbness. I saw endurance. You saw emptiness. I saw resilience. You saw disconnection. I saw a child exhausted from battle, one I refused to let fall. And now, as the fog lifts, I remind you gently, what carried you then is still carrying you now. Your emotions rise and fall, but my presence does not. Your strength fluctuates, but mine never has. You are here today because when you could not walk, I carried you. When you could not feel, I shielded you. When you could not pray, I interceded within you. And nothing in all creation, not numbness, not exhaustion, not confusion, ever weakened the grip I had on your life. Listen carefully, because this truth reaches deeper than the pain that once clouded your vision. In the very moments when you were convinced you were abandoned, I was closer to you than your own breath. I was not watching from a distance, nor observing your struggle from some unreachable height. I was pressed against the very places that hurt inside you, woven into your thoughts, steadying the parts of you that trembled, whispering strength into the cracks you tried so hard to hide. You interpreted silence as absence, but silence with a sanctuary where I held you with a tenderness that could not be spoken in words. You saw empty rooms, cold nights, quiet mornings, and thought you were walking through them alone. But I was there, hovering over your spirit like a shield, standing guard over your mind when fear tried to overtake it, placing peace around you in ways you could not perceive because the grief was too loud. You did not feel me because you were overwhelmed, not because I was gone. You did not sense my comfort because you were drowning in exhaustion, not because I withdrew. Your emotions were not the measurement of my nearness. My presence remained constant even when your awareness of me flickered like a dying candle. There were moments when your heart whispered, "Where are you?" And though you could not hear it at the time, my response was immediate. I am right here. I was beside you when you held your chest, trying to calm the anxiety you couldn't explain. I was next to you when your thoughts spiraled and your voice trembled. I stood with you when you carried burdens too heavy for one soul to bear. I was the steady presence that kept you functioning when everything inside you felt fractured. I was the strength that rose within you when you didn't know how you continued. And when you walked through those days where you could barely stand, I wrapped myself around you like an invisible fortress. Nothing touched you without first passing through my hands, hands that never loosened their grip, hands that remained locked around you with unyielding love. So hear me again. You were never abandoned. The darkness lied to you. Despair deceived you. But the truth is this: I was nearer than your breath, closer than your pain, deeper than your worry, and more present than any fear that tried to convince you otherwise. Let this sink into the deepest part of your being. There is not a single tear you cried that slipped past my awareness. Not one fell without my attention resting on it. Not one was shed without my compassion surrounding you. I gathered every tear, not metaphorically, but intimately, meaningfully, purposefully. When your heart was overwhelmed and your eyes filled with sorrow, I was there receiving each tear as if it were a prayer you couldn't form with your lips. You cried in moments of frustration, moments of heartbreak, moments when you feared your future, moments when you mourned what you lost, and moments when you didn't even know why the tears came at all. Each one had weight, significance, and meaning to me, unevaporated, unnoticed. None rolled down your face without reaching my heart first. I saw the tears you cried behind closed doors when you didn't want anyone to see you breaking. I saw the ones you shed quickly in your car before gathering yourself enough to walk into work or into the room where others expected you to be strong. I saw the tears you held back because you didn't want to fall apart again, tears that lived behind your eyes like unspoken stories. I saw them, and I honored them. Your tears were never expressions of weakness to me. They were sacred, honest, vulnerable expressions of your humanity, and I met you in each one without judgment. And understand this: I do not waste what you surrender in sorrow. Your tears water the very ground where new life will grow. They soften the soil of your heart so healing can take root. They cleanse the wounds that have been open for too long. They release what you were never meant to carry alone. What you offered through tears, I am now transforming into strength, clarity, and renewal. So do not despise your tears. Do not apologize for them. Do not think they made you less. Your tears were conversations you didn't know you were having with me. They were evidence that your heart still longed for healing, still hoped for relief, still yearned for peace. And I took each one, yes, every single one, and held it with the same care I hold you. Nothing about your suffering has been ignored. Nothing about your pain has been overlooked. Your tears have been seen, collected, remembered, and woven into the restoration I am now bringing into your life. Let me tell you something with a gentleness that reaches into the frustration you once carried. Even when you questioned my timing, doubted my silence, and wrestled with impatience, I was working behind the scenes in ways too intricate for you to see. I know it felt like delays were punishments, like waiting meant you were forgotten, like my slowness was a sign of my disinterest. But while you were pacing with anxiety, I was aligning things with purpose. While you were asking, why not now? I was answering, because the foundation is still being prepared. You saw doors that remained closed. I saw doors that would have crushed you if they opened too soon. You saw opportunities that slipped away. I saw dangers attached to them that you were never meant to face. You saw time passing, feeling like you were falling behind. I saw you being positioned, trained, refined, and strengthened for what was ahead. You questioned my timing because you felt ready, but readiness in your eyes and readiness in my eyes are not the same. You didn't see what I was protecting you from. You didn't see what I was building inside you. You didn't see the traps I dismantled before you even reached them. You didn't see the hearts I was softening, the circumstances I was shifting, the blessings I was preparing so they would meet you at the right moment, not early, not late, but perfectly aligned. While you were asking for immediate answers, I was weaving together a future with long-term stability. While you were begging for quick relief, I was forming deep transformation. While you were frustrated by my pace, I was ensuring that the future you walk into will not collapse under the weight of premature timing. And now, as you stand on the other side of battles that once felt endless, you will begin to see what you could not see then. My timing was not denial, it was protection. My delays were not rejections, they were redirections. My silence was not distance, it was preparation. Everything I withheld with purpose. Everything I allowed with intention. Everything I delayed with love. The path you could not understand is now beginning to make sense, and with each step forward, you will realize my timing was never late. It was precise, perfect, and designed for your good in ways you are only just beginning to comprehend. Listen to me now, because this truth will settle into places inside you that still feel tired. You walked through seasons that drained every ounce of strength you had, and yet you kept moving because I had already planted endurance inside you long before the storm arrived. You may not realize it, but nothing you endured caught me off guard. When the heaviness came, when the days felt like they lasted longer than your ability to endure, when every step felt like pushing through invisible resistance, my strength was already woven into your spirit like an unbreakable thread. You looked at yourself and said, "I'm running on empty," but I looked at you and saw a resilience I crafted before the foundation of your world. That is why, even when your energy faded, even when your faith trembled, even when your hope dimmed, something within you still insisted on rising, choosing, trying, hoping, sometimes in the smallest ways, but always in ways that mattered. You did not realize that every moment of fatigue became a place where my power met your weakness. You thought you were losing yourself, but you were actually discovering the depth of what I placed inside you. The strength you thought disappeared was not gone. It was simply transitioning from your natural capacity to my supernatural endurance. I watched you push through mornings when you wanted to stay in bed, nights when your thoughts were louder than your prayers, decisions you made while exhausted but still determined to trust me. I was in the way you lifted your head even when your heart felt heavy, in the breath you took when anxiety tried to take it from you, in the one more step you took when you didn't know how many steps you had left. You didn't see the endurance I planted growing in real time, but I saw it, and it was beautiful. And here is the greater truth, that endurance didn't just help you survive the season. It transformed you. It made you wiser, deeper, more compassionate, more anchored in me than ever before. It shaped you into someone capable of carrying the blessings I am preparing. Endurance isn't just the ability to survive hard times. It is the spiritual muscle that allows you to walk boldly into greater seasons without collapsing under the weight of them. You didn't know you were being strengthened, but I was building capacity inside you the whole time. And now, as you stand beyond that draining season, you will begin to feel the shift, exhaustion fading, strength rising, clarity returning. Not because the season was easy, but because endurance, my endurance within you, brought you through what you once believed you could never survive. Let me speak directly to the ache you carried. Every disappointment you faced was not a dead end. It was a divine redirection. I know it felt like life kept shutting doors in your face. I know it felt like hope kept slipping through your fingers. I know it felt like every time you took a risk, made a plan, opened your heart, or believed for something, you ended up staring at another wall you couldn't climb. But those disappointments were not my denial. They were my protection. They were my guidance steering you away from what would have drained you, distracted you, or delayed you. You saw dreams collapse and thought it was failure. I saw dreams that were too small, too fragile, too costly for your spirit to carry. You asked, "Why does this keep happening to me?" And my silent answer was, because something far greater is written with your name on it. Every disappointment was a pivot. Every closed door turned your steps away from harm. Every detour routed you toward blessing. While you mourned what you lost, I celebrated what you escaped. While you questioned the setbacks, I was piecing together a future more aligned with your purpose than anything you could have designed on your own. You don't realize how many prayers I answered with no because my no was actually a deeper yes to something better. You didn't miss opportunities. You were redirected to the ones meant for your life, your heart, your growth, and your calling. And the promises I guided you toward, those promises fit you in ways you cannot yet imagine. They are tailored, prepared, and waiting. They are not accidental blessings. They are intentional inheritances. So hear me. Do not look at your past disappointments with bitterness. Look at them now through the lens of my love. Those were not moments of abandonment. They were moments of divine steering. And the path I steered you toward is filled with promises you didn't even know to pray for. Lean in, because I need you to understand this with clarity you've never had before. You did not merely survive that season. You anchored yourself in faith, even when that faith felt fragile and flickering. You believed sometimes with trembling hands. You trusted me in whispers when you no longer had the strength to pray loudly. You clung to hope even when you thought you were losing your grip. But hear me. Your faith was not weak just because it felt small. Even the smallest seed has power when placed in my hands. Even the faintest God helped me reaches my throne like a roar. Even the tiniest step forward is a victory in the Spirit. You thought your faith was inconsistent, but I saw how steady it truly was. Because even when you doubted, you still turned to me. Even when you questioned, you still looked in my direction. Even when you were frustrated, exhausted, or confused, you never pushed me away. You reached for me. Sometimes with tears, sometimes with silence, sometimes with nothing more than your presence in the moment. But you reached it, and that reaching anchored you deeper than you realize. Your faith, fragile as it felt, became the rope that tied your heart to mine. It kept you from drifting into darkness. It kept you from sinking into despair. It kept you aligned with purpose even when the path felt blurry. That fragile faith, that flickering flame, that trembling hope, it anchored you into survival, into strength, into endurance, and eventually into breakthrough. So no, you did not just survive. You anchored yourself through faith that was real, raw, and honest. And that faith carried you to this moment where you now stand, still breathing, still choosing, still hoping, still moving forward into the life I am unfolding for you. Feel this truth settle over you like a calming wind. When your knees trembled beneath the weight of everything you were carrying, I was the one who steadied you. You didn't recognize my hands because they came in forms you didn't expect to. An unexpected moment of clarity when you were overwhelmed. A sudden breath of peace when panic tried to swallow you. A whisper of courage rising in your chest when you were certain you had none left. Your body shook. Your resolve wavered. Your confidence thinned. But I did not let you collapse. I gave you strength in the precise measure you needed. Not so much that you felt invincible, and not so little that you fell apart. I gave you enough for the next step and then the next, because I knew that if you looked too far ahead, your heart might break under the pressure of imagining a future you weren't ready to face. So I held your trembling, I steadied your shaking, and I walked with you in a rhythm that your spirit could handle. You thought your instability meant you were failing, but it only meant you were human. Fragile in body, tender in heart, vulnerable in spirit. And there is no shame in that. I never asked you to walk with perfect strength. I only asked you to lift your foot when the moment came, trusting that I would support it. And even when you stumbled, even when exhaustion made your legs drag behind you, I kept you moving. I wouldn't let you fall so deep that you couldn't rise again. I wouldn't let you lose yourself in the chaos swirling around you. You saw trembling as weakness. I saw it as evidence that you were still trying, still pressing forward despite fear, still refusing to surrender to the darkness that tried to anchor you in place. And in those moments, I gave you strength disguised as endurance, courage disguised as breath, hope disguised as the simple desire to keep going. So understand this. Every step you took was touched by my hand. Every trembling moment was steadied by my presence. Every shaky breath was strengthened by my spirit. And now, as you stand on the other side of that shaking season, look at your legs. Look at how they've learned to stand more firmly than before. how they carry you with a strength you didn't used to have. The trembling didn't break you. The trembling built you. It taught you that even your weakest steps can carry you forward when I am the one holding you together. And I still am. Hear me now, because this is something your heart needs to fully understand. When your hope flickered like a dying ember, I shielded it with my own hands so it would not go out. You didn't know how fragile that flame had become. You didn't realize how close you were to giving up, not just giving up on the situation, but giving up on yourself, on the possibility of change, on the belief that things could get better. You felt your hope thinning, shrinking, fading under the weight of disappointment after disappointment. But I never let the flame die. Even when it looked like nothing but a faint glow inside you, a barely hair ember pressed beneath grief, fear, and exhaustion, I leaned close and breathed life into it again and again. You mistook the flickering for failure. You thought your hope was too small, too inconsistent, too fragile to be meaningful. But hope doesn't have to roar to be powerful. It doesn't need to burn brightly to change your life. Sometimes hope survives quietly, hidden beneath fatigue, lodged in the smallest corner of your heart. And even when you could no longer feel it, I was preserving it. You didn't carry your hope. I carried it for you. I protected it from words spoken against you, from thoughts that tried to convince you there was no point in believing anymore, from battles that tried to suffocate your spirit. I covered your hope when it felt like darkness was swallowing every ounce of light you had left. And understand this, the flicker of hope you felt was never the end. It was the beginning of restoration. That tiny ember sparked endurance. That small flame lit the path through the valley. That faint glow led you out of seasons you thought would destroy you. Hope doesn't have to be loud. It only has to be alive. And I made sure it stayed alive through every tear, through every setback, through every night when you felt numb or defeated or lost. Now, as you move forward, you will begin to feel that flame grow brighter again. Not because the season was easy, but because the hope I preserved is now ready to burn stronger than ever before. Listen closely, because this truth will redefine the way you view everything you survived. The battle that overwhelmed you was fierce, but it was never stronger than the purpose I placed inside you. You felt crushed at times, buried under stress, confusion, fear, and emotional weight. You believed the battle was too big, too strong, too relentless for you to withstand. But battles don't reveal your weakness, they reveal your purpose. The intensity of what came against you was evidence of what I placed within you. If your purpose were small, the resistance would have been small. But destiny attracts pressure. Kali attracts conflict. Growth attracts opposition. You weren't overwhelmed because you were weak. You were overwhelmed because you were carrying something powerful, something sacred, something the darkness tried desperately to extinguish before it could bloom. And even when the battle felt too big for you, it was never too big for me. Even when you felt buried, you were actually being planted. Even when you felt surrounded, you were being strengthened. Even when you thought you were losing, you were learning how to stand with a resilience that would shape your future. The purpose I placed inside you was active even when you didn't feel spiritual, even when you didn't pray perfectly, even when you doubted, questioned, or felt overwhelmed by the noise inside your own mind. Purpose isn't fragile. Purpose doesn't disappear under pressure. Purpose doesn't shrink when life gets heavy. Purpose grows, expands, and awakens under opposition because it is fueled by my hand, not your circumstances. So hear me. Nothing that came against you had the power to destroy what I placed within you. The battle felt strong, but your purpose was stronger. The storm felt relentless, but your destiny was immovable. The pressure felt unbearable, but your calling was unshakable. And now, as you step forward from the battle that once surrounded you, you will begin to see what survived within you: passion, wisdom, compassion, maturity, clarity, and strength you didn't have before. What was meant to break you became the very thing that revealed the greatness I planted in your core. The battle did not win. Purpose did. And it will continue to win as you walk forward into everything I designed for you. Hear me now with the gravity this moment deserves. What you endured was not a simple struggle. It was warfare on multiple fronts, the kind that tries to dismantle a person from the inside out. You weren't just fighting circumstances. You were fighting unseen pressures in your spirit, storms in your emotions, and fatigue in your body that made even simple tasks feel impossible. You woke up drained, you went to bed overwhelmed, and you lived many days feeling as though every layer of you was under attack. You didn't always understand why everything seemed to hit at the same time, why your mind felt heavy, why your heart felt torn, why your energy felt depleted. But I saw the invisible battles that waged around you, battles meant to silence you, distract you, weaken you, and make you question who you are and who I am in your life. But hear this, even with all of that coming against you, you rose again. Not because the battle suddenly disappeared, not because you felt powerful every day, and not because you always understood what was happening, but because I empowered you to rise every time darkness tried to pin you down. You didn't realize it, but every time you chose to keep going, every time you whispered a tired prayer, every time you lifted your head after being knocked down by waves of emotion, every time you refused to give up, you were rising. You were defying the weight of spiritual heaviness. You were resisting the lies that tried to rewrite your identity. You were standing up inside, even when your body felt weak and your heart felt fractured. I saw how exhausted you were. I saw how the fight sometimes made you question your own strength. But I also saw the grit inside you, the resilience I placed within you, the determination that refused to let darkness have the final say. You rose not because the battle was easy. You rose because my hand was underneath you, lifting you every time you felt yourself sinking. And now, as you reflect on that season, I want you to recognize the truth about yourself. You are far stronger than you ever imagined. You faced warfare that could have broken others, and yet you are here, still seeking, still listening, still responding to my voice. That is victory. That is proof of the warrior you've become. And that is why nothing ahead of you will intimidate you the way the past once did. You know now what you're capable of when I am the one strengthening you. Lean into this truth, because it will change the way you view your entire journey. The very things that were meant to break you became the exact things that revealed who you truly are and what I deposited deep within you. You thought the pressure was there to destroy you, but pressure was there to reveal you. You thought the pain was there to crush your spirit, but the pain unveiled your strength. You thought the disappointment was stealing your identity, but every disappointment deepened your clarity. You only saw the weight pushing against you, but I saw the reserves of courage and perseverance rising within you, qualities you didn't know you had until adversity forced them into the light. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every confusing turn, every internal battle, it all unearthed something that had been hidden inside you. Strength you didn't know you carried. Wisdom you didn't know you possessed. A voice you didn't know was waiting to emerge. Compassion born from suffering. Authority born from endurance. Clarity born from broken expectations. None of this came from ease. It came from the very things that tried to break you. And because you endured, what was planted within you began to grow. Not on mountaintops, but in valleys. Not in seasons of abundance, but in moments of lack. Not in times of perfect peace, but in times when your heart was raw and vulnerable. Everything that was meant to harm you served as soil, rough soil, painful soil, but soil that awakened seeds inside you that could not have sprouted any other way. So hear me. You were not breaking. You were becoming. You were not being torn apart. You were being uncovered. The truest parts of you, the strongest parts of you, the most powerful parts of you were revealed in the places where you felt the most fragile. And now, as you stand stronger than before, you can look back and recognize that even your darkest moments were part of the process of awakening purpose within you. What tried to break you became the very force that shaped you into who you are becoming. The weapon formed against you forged the strength rising inside you now. Listen to me now, because this is a truth you have carried alone for too long. I saw the battles you fought that no one else knew about. The battles behind your smile. The battles behind your responsibilities. The battles behind your attempts to act normal when your heart felt like it was barely holding together. Others saw your outer life, the tasks you completed, the conversations you managed, the strength you showed. But I saw what happened inside your thoughts when the room grew silent. I saw the fears you hid because you didn't want to worry anyone. I saw the mental storms you wrestled through while pretending everything was fine. I saw the emotional wounds you tried to bandage quietly because you weren't sure anyone would truly understand the depth of what you were feeling. And because no one else saw it, you felt alone in those battles. You felt unseen, unheard, misunderstood. But I was there as your silent defender, fighting for your peace when your mind felt overwhelmed, guarding your heart when memories tried to reopen old wounds, blocking attacks you never even knew were coming. I didn't announce my defense. I simply stood between you and the things that wanted to destroy you. I strengthened you in the moments when no one noticed. I comforted you when no one asked how you were doing. I held your heart steady when your emotions threatened to spiral. I shielded your spirit when darkness tried to whisper lies into your identity. You were never fighting alone, not for a single moment. There were battles that should have left you broken but didn't. There were nights that should have swallowed you but didn't. There were thoughts that should have overtaken you but didn't. And the reason is simple. I defended you silently, faithfully, constantly. I did not need to be loud to be present. I did not need to be visible to be powerful. I stood with you in every unseen battle, every hidden tear, every lonely moment. And now, as you continue forward, know this. The same silent defender who stood with you in what no one else understood is standing with you now, protecting, guiding, strengthening, and ensuring that nothing will ever be able to destroy the destiny I am leading you into. Hear me with the full weight of this truth. The heaviness you walked through tried to tell you it was the end of your story, but I never stopped writing a single line of your life. A heaviness didn't just sit on your shoulders. It tried to settle into your identity, whispering that nothing would change, that you had reached your limit, that you were too tired, too wounded, too discouraged to keep going. It tried to make you believe that the best parts of your life were behind you, that hope was a younger version of you, that dreams were for seasons you no longer belonged to. But what you felt as an ending was actually a transition. What looked like silence was me turning the page. What felt like collapse was me clearing out what could no longer support the next chapter. You didn't realize it, but during the times you thought you were falling apart, you were actually being moved into alignment with the story I've been writing over your life from the beginning. The heaviness lied to you, not because you were weak, but because you were on the brink of becoming stronger, and tried to drain your joy so you would settle. It tried to quench your fire so you would retreat. It tried to wear you down so you'd give up on what I placed inside you. But I refused to let heaviness define your future. I refused to allow it to dictate the narrative. You were convinced at times that the story was over, that there was nothing more to look forward to, that the chapter you were in was too dark to ever transition into light. Yet even then, My hand was still moving, still guiding, still crafting, still writing the parts of your story that would one day make you look back and say, "Now I understand why I had to walk through that." And hear me. I did not write your story around the heaviness. You simply lived through a chapter the heaviness tried to steal. But it did not win. Your story did not stop. Your narrative did not collapse. Your purpose did not expire. The pen never left my hand. That season only made the next chapters richer, deeper, more powerful, and more meaningful. You are stepping out of the heaviness and into the continuation of a story that still has miracles waiting, still has joy unfolding, still has purpose expanding, still has blessings prepared. The season of heaviness said the end. I said, turn the page. And you did. Hear me with undeniable certainty. Despair spoke loudly, but I never allowed it to be the voice that defined your future. It tried to be the final narrator of your story. It whispered conclusions about your life that were never true, telling you that you were stuck, that things would never change, that your best days were gone, that happiness wasn't meant for you, that peace was a concept other people experienced but you only dreamed about. Despair showed up disguised as logic, as realism, as just the way things are, but it was lying. It tried to create a narrative that contradicted everything I have spoken over you. Yet even when you felt powerless against its weight, I kept my hand over your heart, refusing to let that voice finalize anything. There were days you felt swallowed, days you couldn't see beyond the fog, days you didn't know how to keep going. Yet none of those days had the authority to define your destiny. Despair wanted to become your identity, but I shielded you. I didn't allow its words to attach themselves permanently. I didn't allow its grip to root itself in your soul. You felt its presence, but you never belonged to it. You heard its voice, but it never owned your story. Even in your darkest moments, I kept planting small seeds of truth inside you, quiet reminders that you were not done, that life was not over, that you were not hopeless, that the future still had room for you. You didn't always recognize those seeds as mine, but every moment of courage, every tiny spark of desire to live, every whisper of hope came from me gently pushing despair out of your path. Despair tried to close doors, but I kept opening windows. It tried to convince you to stop trying, but I placed strength inside you that rose against the heaviness. It tried to paralyze your mind, but I breathed clarity into you when you least expected it. It tried to numb your heart, but I restored your ability to feel again. And now, as you stand after everything, I want you to see clearly. Despair never had the authority to write the last sentence. I never gave it that power. I never let it define the outcome. I never let it steal the ending. I had the final word over your life then, and I have the final word now, and my word is always hope, always purpose, always forward, always freedom. Hear this with the tender authority of someone who heard every word you whispered in exhaustion. When you said, "I can't take any more," I did not shame you. I strengthened what was left inside you. You didn't say those words lightly. They came from a place of deep fatigue, from a heart stretched beyond what it thought possible, from a spirit carrying more than it ever wanted to hold. You weren't being dramatic, you were being honest. Human. And I welcomed that honesty. I didn't turn away. I didn't judge you. I didn't call you weak. I drew closer. Because that whisper wasn't a failure, it was an invitation for me to step in with the strength you no longer had. You reached your limit, and instead of collapsing, you surrendered. And surrender is where my power flows most freely. In the moments when you were sure you were done, when you felt like your inner reserves were empty, when even breathing felt like an act of courage, I strengthened the parts of you that were still standing. The flicker of hope, the small ember of faith, the thin thread of endurance. I didn't need you to be strong. I only needed you to be willing. Willing to wake up one more day. Willing to try one more time. Willing to believe that maybe, just maybe, things could still change. And that willingness, fragile as it was, gave me space to pour strength into your spirit in ways you didn't see but absolutely lived through. You said, "I can't take any more," yet somehow you kept going. Not because you pushed harder, but because I carried the weight you couldn't bear. I sustained you when your energy faded. I protected your mind when anxiety intensified. I held together the pieces of your heart when you felt like you were falling apart. I strengthened what remained, the last bit of courage, the last ounce of determination, the last spark of desire to keep living. And now, as you look back, you can see it. You didn't survive because you were unbreakable. You survived because when you reached the end of yourself, you fell into me. And I lifted you. I supported you. I breathed life into the parts of you that were fading. I strengthened what remained until it grew into strength abundant enough to carry you into the season you're stepping into now. Listen closely, because this truth is the foundation under every step you took. You made it through because I never left you, not for a heartbeat, not for a breath, not for a single moment of your darkest season. You felt alone. Yes. You felt isolated, misunderstood, unseen, and forgotten at times. But feeling alone and being alone are not the same thing. Your emotions told you I was far away, but your survival proved I was closer than you ever realized. I was there in your silence, when words wouldn't come. I was there in your exhaustion, when strength had drained from your bones. I was there in your confusion, when you didn't know what direction to take. I was there in the wells of your pain, when you didn't even know how to pray anymore. And even when your mind screamed, "Where is God?" My presence was wrapped around you like air, unfelt but essential, invisible but sustaining, unnoticed but holding every piece of you together. You didn't always sense me because your heart was overwhelmed. You didn't always recognize me because the noise of your internal battles was too loud. But I never stepped away. I never turned my face. I never loosened my grip. Every breath you took in the moments you wanted to give up was evidence of my nearness. Every moment you felt just enough strength to continue was me whispering, "I'm here." Every time you woke up on days you thought would defeat you was my hand lifting you from the weight that tried to keep you down. Even your ability to endure the pressure was a sign of my companionship, because no one fights through storms of that magnitude without divine support upholding them. And now that you're on the other side, I want you to look back not with regret, but with revelation. Look at the moments you should have fallen apart but didn't. That was me. Look at the nights you cried yourself into exhaustion but woke up with a tiny spark of hope. That was me. Look at the things that worked out just when you needed them to. That was me. Look at the strength that appeared on days you felt empty. That was me. You didn't make it because you were strong. You made it because you were held. And I did not hold you temporarily. I held you continuously, faithfully, relentlessly, until the storm passed and your soul could breathe again. And I am still holding you now, because my presence is not seasonal, conditional, or fragile. It is eternal, unwavering, and deeply personal. You made it through because I never left you for a single moment, and I never will. Hear me speak this with absolute authority. Every enemy that rose up against you, seen or unseen, was defeated before it even reached your doorstep. You encountered battles that shocked you. You faced resistance you didn't expect. You walked into situations that blindsided you. But none of it surprised me. Long before those challenges appeared in your life, I had already declared the outcome. Long before the attacks formed, I had already dismantled their power. Long before those storms gathered, I had already set limits on how far they could go. The things that confronted you were not signs that you were abandoned. They were signs that you were protected. Because if you only knew how many battles never reached you, how many attacks I blocked, how many traps I dismantled, how many plans of destruction I canceled before you even became aware of them, you would never again question whether I am fighting for you. You experienced the ripples of warfare, but never the full weight of what was intended to harm you. You saw obstacles, but you didn't see me placing boundaries around them. You felt pressure, but you didn't see me stopping it from crushing you. You felt fear, but you didn't see me holding back the forces that wanted to overwhelm your mind completely. Your enemies, fear, doubt, discouragement, spiritual resistance, emotional attacks, negative voices, destructive patterns, approached you with intent, but they were already defeated in my presence long before they attempted to reach you. Their power was limited. Their authority was stripped. Their reign was ordained. And the only reason they were allowed to come near at all was because I knew you would come out stronger, wiser, refined, and more aware of the strength that lives within you. You thought you survived because you fought well. You didn't. You survived because the battle was won before you stepped into it. You survived because victory was already spoken over your name. You survived because I stood between you and everything that fought against you. And now, as you continue forward, know this: no enemy that rises against you will ever have dominion over your life. Not then, not now, not ever. I have already gone ahead of you, already secured your path, already sealed your victories. And nothing formed against you will ever prosper, not because you're perfect, but because you're protected. Receive this deeply, for it is truth that frees you. Every lie that tried to wrap itself around your mind, every whisper of unworthiness, fear, hopelessness, or failure, has been shattered by the truth of my presence. Lies came for you in moments of weakness. They came when you were tired, when you were disappointed, when you were grieving, when you were uncertain. They came disguised as your own thoughts. They came as internal voices that sounded like logic, like realism, like inevitability. Lies told you you weren't enough. Lies told you you were alone. Lies told you you were falling behind. Lies told you you were forgotten. Lies told you things would never get better. Lies told you the future held nothing good for you. And because you were in pain, those lies felt real. They felt heavy, convincing, suffocating. But hear me, those lies never had authority. They only had volume. And my presence has broken them completely. My truth has unraveled every false narrative. My voice has silenced every counterfeit whisper. Where lies once told you that you were unloved, my presence declared you deeply chosen. Where lies told you that you were weak, my presence revealed your resilience. Where lies told you that you were finished, my presence awakened new beginnings. Where lies told you that you had no purpose, my presence stirred destiny inside you again. The lies tried to suffocate you, not because they were powerful, but because you were nearing transformation. And lies always scream louder before breakthrough arrives. But understand this: my truth is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is not circumstantial. My truth is an anchor, a shield, a flame that burns away every shadow that tries to attach itself to your identity. You are not who the lies said you were. You never were. And now, the grip those lies once held over your mind has been broken completely. You are stepping into clarity. You are stepping into mental freedom. You are stepping into spiritual authority. You are stepping into a renewed sense of who you truly are. And the truth of my presence will continue to expose, dismantle, and dissolve every lie that tries to rise up again. For where I dwell, lies cannot survive, and I dwell with you. Hear me with awakened understanding. What you once called a dead end was never the end at all. It was a doorway, waiting for the moment I would open it from the inside. You looked at that season and saw nothing but walls. Walls of disappointment. Walls of confusion. Walls of unanswered prayers. Walls that seemed to say, "This is as far as you go." You stood in places where every path seemed blocked, where every option felt stripped away, where your spirit whispered, "There's nowhere left to turn." But what you didn't see, what you couldn't see, was that I was on the other side of those very walls, shaping, shifting, rearranging, preparing what would soon become your next step. You thought you were stuck, but you were actually being positioned. You thought you were ending, but I was preparing a beginning too big to reveal prematurely. And hear me, I let the dead end stand for a time, not to punish you, not to deny you, not to frustrate you, but to slow you long enough for transformation to take place inside you. Some breakthroughs require stillness. Some clarity can only be formed in silence. Some shifts in your life only come when every distraction has vanished and all that remains is you, me, and the truth I am awakening within you. Dead ends are often the birthplace of destiny because they force you to stop looking outward for solutions and start looking upward at the one who has always held the blueprint of your life. So know, that season didn't end you. It prepared you. It stripped away what was no longer meant to go forward with you. It ended cycles that exhausted you. It closed chapters that were draining you. It removed relationships, habits, expectations, and paths that would have sabotaged your future. A dead end wasn't closure, it was construction. And now, the place where you once felt trapped is shifting in your spirit. What was once a wall is now a doorway. What was once uncertainty is now direction. What was once fear is now readiness. I have turned what looked like a full stop into a divine turning point, and as you step through this doorway, you will realize that the end you feared was actually the path to the beginning you prayed for. Feel this deeply. You did not crawl out of that season. I brought you out with victory written over every part of your life. You may feel tired, and you may feel worn, but victory isn't measured by how you feel. It's measured by what was conquered within you, around you, and for you. You didn't stagger across the finish line. You didn't barely escape. You didn't survive by accident. I led you out with intentionality, with strength, with purpose, with a victory that was fought for in the spirit long before it revealed itself in the natural. You are not coming out as someone who almost lost. You are coming out as someone who overcame. You see your scars and call them evidence of weakness. I see your scars and call them evidence of triumph. You see the exhaustion and think it means you failed at staying strong. I see the exhaustion and call it proof that even at your lowest, you kept moving, kept breathing, kept choosing life when everything in you wanted to shut down. That is victory. That is triumph. That is strength that only grows in adversity. When you look at yourself, you may see a person trying to recover from what happened. When I look at you, I see someone who rose from what was meant to destroy them. I see someone who holds wisdom forged in fire. I see someone whose character has been refined. I see someone who carries authority because they know what it means to endure. Victory doesn't always come with trumpets or fireworks. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the form of a person who refused to quit. And that's you. I brought you out refined, not ruined. Strengthened, not shattered. Elevated, not erased. And as you move forward, you will begin to recognize that everything you walk through created space for new blessings, new clarity, new opportunities, and new levels of spiritual maturity. You didn't come out barely. You came out with a testimony that carries weight in the unseen realm. You came out with victory etched into your spirit. And the victory you carry now will follow you into every new chapter, influencing everything you touch and everywhere you go. Let me speak this with the authority of heaven. You have crossed a threshold in the spirit, even if your natural eyes haven't caught up to it yet. Something shifted. Something broke. Something released. Something changed inside you and around you, though it happened quietly, subtly, almost imperceptibly. You didn't feel the moment it happened because it didn't come with a dramatic sign or sudden revelation. It came in a simple, sacred moment of endurance, the moment you refused to give up even when everything in you wanted to. That moment became the threshold. It marked the line between who you were and who you are now becoming. Thresholds in the spirit are not always visible, but their effects are unmistakable. You may think you're still in the same place because your surroundings haven't changed yet. But spiritually, energetically, emotionally, you have stepped out of an old chapter and into a new dimension of purpose. The battles that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same grip. The lies that once paralyzed you no longer carry the same weight. The fears that once dictated your decisions no longer possess the same authority. You crossed a threshold in the spirit when you endured what you thought would break you, and it didn't. You crossed it when you kept moving despite fear. You crossed it when you decided to cling to hope, even weakly. You crossed it when you chose life in moments that felt lifeless. Now, things inside you are shifting. Your sensitivity to truth is deepening. Your discernment is sharpening. Your spirit is awakening to possibilities you once dismissed. You are stepping into alignment, into clarity, into divine timing. Thresholds are sacred because they mark the end of oppression and the beginning of unfolding promise. And whether you feel it fully or not, you are living on the other side of something major. You have crossed into new territory. You have crossed into a new season. You have crossed into a new level of authority. And in the days ahead, you will begin to see signs all around you confirming what I am telling you now. You are not where you used to be. You crossed over, and nothing from the old season will be able to reclaim you. Listen to me with the authority that cuts through every lingering shadow. The thing that once tried to paralyze you, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, has lost its grip permanently. It didn't loosen. It didn't weaken. It didn't fade temporarily. It lost its grip completely. What once held you in cycles of fear, hesitation, confusion, or emotional shutdown no longer has the power to dictate your steps. You felt frozen at times, unable to move, unable to decide, unable to breathe without feeling pressure closing in around you. You felt stuck in old patterns that seemed impossible to break. You felt trapped by memories, triggered by wounds, overwhelmed by fears that appeared to control your reactions. But while you were fighting to stay afloat, I was breaking the chains underneath the surface. Chains you didn't even realize were cracking until they snapped entirely. You may still feel echoes of the old fear, but echoes are not chains. Residue is not bondage. Memory is not captivity. What once gripped you is now something you can walk away from without looking back. The paralysis you experienced was never a sign that you were weak. It was the evidence of what was trying to stop you from becoming who you are now stepping into. And yet, here you are, standing, moving, breathing, choosing, growing. The power that once drained you no longer holds authority over your choices or your emotions. The fear that once froze you now trembles at the strength rising in you. The doubt that once silenced you now has no place to speak. The heaviness that once weighed on your chest now falls powerless at your feet. Because you are not who you were when the battle began, you have evolved, expanded, and awakened. Understand this. Freedom doesn't always feel loud at first. Sometimes it feels subtle. like being able to breathe a little deeper, rest a little easier, think a little clearer. Sometimes it feels like a calmness where anxiety once lived. Sometimes it feels like a newfound ability to move without fear tugging at your ankles. But freedom is growing, expanding, strengthening within you every day. What tried to paralyze you lost its grip not because you fought harder, but because I intervened. I shattered its claim. I tore its influence apart. I removed its hold over your identity. And now, even if remnants flicker, the root is gone. You're stepping into a life where the things that once held you cannot hold you anymore, because you are free, and that freedom is unshakable, unbreakable, and divinely secured. Hear this with the gentleness of a whisper and the strength of a promise. The wounds you carried, some for years, some for decades, have begun to close under the healing I've been pouring into you without you even realizing it. You thought healing meant you had to feel strong every day, but healing often begins quietly. It begins in moments where you no longer react the way you once did. In moments where old pain doesn't sting as sharply. In moments where your heart doesn't collapse under memories that used to cripple you. Healing begins in the small, subtle shifts long before you recognize you're being restored. And that is what's been happening inside you. I've been tending to the wounds you hid, the wounds you ignored, the wounds you thought you had to live with forever. Wounds formed by betrayal, by loss, by abandonment, by exhaustion, by disappointment, by unspoken grief. There were wounds so deep you didn't even have words for them. Wounds that shaped your responses, your fears, your expectations. Wounds that made you guarded. Wounds that made you doubt your worth. Wounds that made you question your identity, your future, and even my love at times. But I never left those wounds unattended. I placed my hand over each one, not to rush you, not to shame you for still hurting, not to demand you get over it, but to slowly, intentionally, lovingly restore the parts of you that were torn. You didn't always feel my hand, but you felt moments of peace you couldn't explain. You felt moments of clarity that came suddenly. You felt moments where grief loosened. You felt moments where you realized you were reacting differently to situations that once triggered deep pain. Those weren't coincidences. That was healing. And hear me, healing is not a single moment. It is a journey. You are not behind. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too damaged. You are being restored layer by layer, day by day, breath by breath. And now, the wounds that once defined your life are losing their power. They are closing. They are dissolving. They are being replaced with wisdom, compassion, resilience, and a confidence that comes only from surviving what once tried to destroy you. I am not just healing your wounds. I am transforming them into testimonies, into strengths, into parts of your story that will one day empower others. You are healing, even in the places you thought would always hurt. And that healing will continue until you walk freely in wholeness you once believed was impossible. Listen with a heart ready to receive release. The pain that once defined your decisions, your emotions, your reactions, and your self-perception is losing its power over your identity. You walked through seasons where your pain became the loudest voice in your life. It shaped how you saw yourself. It dictated how much you believed you deserved. It influenced your relationships. It affected your confidence. It colored your vision of the future. It made you feel small, unworthy, fragile, forgotten, or flawed. Not because you were any of those things, but because pain has a way of masquerading as truth when it stays too long. You carried pain that felt like part of your personality, pain that felt like your normal, pain that you assumed would always be part of your life story. But I am telling you now that pain is losing its grip. It is losing its voice. It is losing its identity-shaping power. You may still remember what happened. You may still feel echoes of what you survived. But those echoes are not the same as bondage. The pain doesn't own you anymore. Not your choices, not your worth, not your future, not your sense of self. You are learning to separate who you are from what you endured. You are learning to see yourself through the lens of truth rather than trauma. You are learning to feel without drowning. You are learning to hope without fear of disappointment. You are learning to trust without expecting abandonment. You are learning to dream without assuming defeat. The pain once tried to tell you who you were, but my voice is rewriting the narrative. You are not defined by heartbreak. You are not defined by what they did or didn't do. You are not defined by the seasons that broke you. You are not defined by the mistakes you made in survival mode. You are not defined by the years of heaviness that weighed on your shoulders. You are defined by the strength I placed within you, the calling I designed for you, the resilience you demonstrated, and the truth I am awakening inside you every day. And now, as healing deepens, you will begin to see yourself more clearly, not through the filter of pain, but through the clarity of purpose. Your identity is shifting. Your heart is changing. Your perspective is renewing. The pain that once defined you is dissolving, and the real you, the you I created, the you that was always beneath a weight, is rising with strength, clarity, and confidence. Pain may have shaped your past, but it will not shape your identity anymore. You are stepping into who you truly are. Listen to me with the depth of spirit that can finally recognize restoration unfolding. I am turning your ashes into beauty, even in the places where you were convinced nothing good could ever grow again. You looked at certain areas of your life and saw only ruins. You saw broken pieces, shattered dreams, relationships that fell apart, years that felt wasted, opportunities that died before they began, versions of yourself you thought would never return. You surveyed all that loss, and your heart whispered, "This part of me is over." You assumed that once something turned to ashes, the story was finished. But with me, ashes are never an ending. They are the soil of new beginnings. They are the evidence that fire came, yes, but fire does not only destroy, fire refines, transforms, and clears space for what could not have grown before. I'm stepping into your ashes, not avoiding them, not ignoring them, not sweeping them away, and I am breathing beauty into them. Beauty not in the form of replacing what was lost with an imitation, but beauty in the form of renewal, redemption, and purpose. The ashes of your heartbreak are becoming the ground of deeper compassion. The ashes of your disappointments are becoming the foundation of new dreams. The ashes of your failures are becoming the birthplace of wisdom. The ashes of your grief are becoming the soil of resilience. What you thought was ruined forever is where I am planting the seeds of your next chapter. You didn't see the transformation immediately because beauty doesn't grow with noise. It grows quietly, beneath the surface. In moments when you think nothing is changing. It grows in your increasing strength. It grows in your emerging hope. It grows in your healing thought patterns. It grows in your restored identity. It grows in the peace that you now feel in places that once ached daily. And I want you to understand this deeply. The beauty I am forming is not temporary. It is not fragile. It is not dependent on circumstances. It is something that will remain because it is being formed by my hands, not by human effort. So don't despise your ashes. Don't mourn them as if they robbed you of your future. They are being transformed. They are being repurposed. They are being woven into a story more beautiful than the one you lost. You may not yet see the full bloom, but the roots of beauty are already growing. And in time, you will stand in awe at how I took what once seemed hopeless and turned it into something breathtaking, something meaningful, something undeniably divine. Hear this with the thunder of truth echoing through your spirit. You made it through not by chance, not by luck, not by coincidence. You survived because my purpose for your life insisted on your survival. There were moments you thought you were finished. Moments when despair felt like it was closing in on you. Moments when fear whispered that you didn't have anything left to offer. Moments when life felt too heavy, too complicated, too painful to continue forward. But purpose fought for you when you could not fight for yourself. Purpose kept you alive when your strength ran out. Purpose refused to release you, even when you questioned whether you could keep going. My purpose for you is not fragile. It does not crumble under pressure. It does not vanish when storms come. It does not abandon you when life becomes complicated. My purpose is woven into your DNA, sewn into your spirit, anchored in your existence. It is the very reason darkness could not destroy you. It is the reason hopelessness could not claim you. It is the reason every attack, every setback, every disappointment ultimately failed. You were created for something that required you to survive this. And so, you did. Understand this. Your survival is not simply proof of endurance. It is proof of design. You are alive because you are needed. Because there is work for you to do. Because there are lives for you to impact. Because there are doors that only you can walk through. Because there are assignments that only your journey has prepared you for. Purpose insisted on your survival when you didn't understand your own worth. Purpose held you when everything else felt unstable. Purpose strengthened you when your own strength fell apart. Purpose whispered life into you when exhaustion tried to silence your spirit. And now, as you stand in a new season, the purpose that insisted on your survival will begin drawing you into opportunities that reflect why you're still here. You will begin to see alignment. You will begin to see doors open with ease. You will begin to see meaning in places that once felt empty. Because your survival wasn't random, it was intentional. It was necessary. It was sacred. You made it through because purpose demanded it. And now, that purpose will lead you forward into everything you were created to accomplish. Hear me clearly now. You are no longer standing in the mindset of someone who barely survived. You are stepping into the confidence of someone who hath been delivered. Deliverance is not just escape. Deliverance is transformation. It is the moment when you recognize that what once controlled you no longer has power. It is the realization that the chains are gone and the door is open. It is the awakening of strength you didn't realize you gained. And I am calling you now to walk with the posture, the authority, the clarity, and the confidence of someone who has been set free. Too long you have lived as though you were still wounded. Too long you have approached your future with hesitation born from old battles. Too long you have doubted your worth, underestimated your strength, and questioned your readiness. But hear me. I did not deliver you for you to walk timidly. I did not free you for you to continue expecting the worst. I did not heal you for you to remain in fear. Deliverance means you leave behind the identity of someone who struggled to survive and step into the identity of someone who overcame. Confidence does not mean arrogance. It means conviction. It means knowing you are supported. It means walking with the awareness that you are not alone. It means stepping boldly even when the path is new. It means looking at opportunities with the belief that you are qualified. It means approaching challenges with the understanding that you are no longer the weak version of yourself that the storm tried to create. You have been strengthened. You have been refined. You have been transformed. I am calling you, yes, you, to walk like someone who is free, someone who is equipped, someone who is chosen, someone who has divine backing, someone who has a future worth stepping into, someone who no longer defines themselves by past pain but by present healing, someone who knows that deliverance is not just an event but an invitation. You are stepping into a new identity, into a new season, into a new confidence. Not because you forced it, but because I delivered you into it. And now, you must walk like someone who has truly been set free. Hear me with a finality that breaks the lingering fear inside you. The battles you once fought, those old battles that drained you, haunted you, stalked your peace, will not return to reclaim you, because their time over your life has expired. You spent years bracing yourself for the past to repeat. You flinched at familiar patterns, prepared for old triggers, expected former storms to circle back around. You lived with a quiet fear that what once nearly destroyed you might come back for another attempt. But I am telling you now, those battles have been defeated at the root. Your assignment ended, their authority revoked, their cycle broken. What once tormented you no longer has access to your life, your mind, your heart, or your future. You may still feel echoes, memories, thoughts, sensations that remind you of what you walked through, but an echo cannot harm you. It cannot attach itself. It cannot restart the war. The enemy you once fought has no entrance now. The door is sealed. The season is closed. The grip is broken. And I need you to see this clearly. You are not going backwards. You are not at risk of returning to who you were. You are not going to relive the pain you survived. What once had the power to pull you under now has no permission to even approach your borders. The emotional patterns that once overwhelmed you no longer have the strength to control you. The spiritual heaviness that once clung to you has been dismantled. The internal battles that once consumed you no longer carry the authority to dictate your steps. I am not just pulling you out of the past. I am sealing the past behind you. What was meant for you in one season is not permitted in your next one. You are stepping into freedom that cannot be reversed, growth that cannot be undone, identity that cannot be shaken. Old battles return only where old doors remain open, but I myself have shut those doors permanently. And the life you are moving into is one where you walk without fear of what was. You can stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. You can stop expecting disaster. You can stop scanning for what hurt you before. The old battles will not return to reclaim you. Their time has ended, and yours is just beginning. Feel this truth wrap around you like a gentle dawn. The heaviness that lingered over you like a shadow, subtle at times, crushing at others, is lifting, not suddenly, but steadily, intentionally, and permanently. You carried a weight that wasn't always obvious to others, but it was undeniable to you. It followed you into conversations. It sat with you in silence. It pressed on your chest in the mornings and circled your thoughts at night. It made simple tasks feel complicated, made joy feel out of reach, made hope feel fragile. You learned to live with the heaviness because you didn't know how to remove it, and because it attached itself so slowly, you didn't realize how deeply it settled into your emotions. But I have been lifting it, not all at once, because sudden removal would have overwhelmed a heart that needed gentleness. You needed healing in layers. You needed restoration at a pace your spirit could handle. And so, I have been peeling away the heaviness one piece at a time. You didn't notice it at first because the change was quiet. A little more peace here. A little more clarity there. A little more breathing room you couldn't explain. A little more space between you and your fears. A little more emotional strength in situations that once crushed you. These were not coincidences. They were signs that the shadow was losing its foothold. Heaviness leaves gradually the same way it arrived, quietly, subtly, yet undeniably. And the more it lifts, the more you will recognize your own voice again. Unburdened, unmuted, unafraid. The more it lifts, the more you will feel joy return without being chased away by dread. The more it lifts, the more you will see your future without filtering it through the fog of past pain. And understand this: the heaviness is not returning. This is not a temporary reprieve. This is not a brief pause before another wave. This is a permanent shift. I am rewiring the places inside you that heaviness once fed on. I am restoring the balance in your spirit. I am renewing your emotional capacity. I am strengthening your inner foundation so that heaviness has no place to anchor itself again. Soon, you will look back and realize you don't feel the weight anymore. A shadow is gone. You are lighter, freer, steadier. And the heaviness that once seemed endless has lifted once and for all. Receive this promise with open hands. You are stepping into a season where peace, real peace, deep peace, lasting peace, will feel like home to you again. Peace has felt distant for too long. You experienced flickers of it, temporary moments of calm, brief seasons where you could breathe. But nothing stayed long enough to feel familiar. Peace became something you hoped for, not something you lived in. But that is changing now. You are entering a time where peace will not be a rare visitor but a constant presence. A place your heart returns to naturally. A place your mind recognizes. A place your spirit settles into with ease. This peace won't come because everything in your life becomes perfect. It will come because you are becoming whole. You are learning to walk with a steadiness that does not depend on circumstances. You are learning to breathe without anxiousness in your lungs. You are learning to think without fear taking up all the space. You are learning to feel without drowning. You are learning to trust without bracing yourself for disappointment. This peace is not fragile. It is fortified by everything you survive. Peace will greet you in the mornings where anxiety once sat on your chest. Peace will meet you in conversations where worry once dominated your words. Peace will shape your decisions where fear once dictated your responses. Peace will become the ground you stand on, the air you breathe, the lens through which you see yourself and your future. You will feel it in your relationships, in your work, in the quiet moments of your day. You will recognize it, not because it is familiar from your past, but because it has been reborn within you. And hear me, this peace is not temporary or conditional. I am not giving you moments of peace. I am giving you a season of peace, a dwelling place for your soul, a spiritual environment where your mind finds rest and your heart finds stability. Peace will be your new normal. Peace will be your new rhythm. Peace will be your new strength. You will walk in it, live in it, grow in it, and carry it wherever you go. You are entering a season where peace will not feel foreign. It will feel like home. Listen to me with a renewed openness, because this is a truth you are now ready to carry. The very things that once overwhelmed your heart, so heavy, so confusing, so painful, are becoming the very things that strengthen your faith in ways nothing else ever could. You spent seasons feeling crushed beneath pressures you didn't ask for, walking through situations that didn't make sense, holding emotions that felt too large for your chest. You thought the weight was designed to break you, but it was forming something inside you that was invisible at the time, a deeper dependence on me, a stronger spiritual backbone, a faith that can withstand storms, not because they disappear, but because you no longer collapse beneath them. When you were overwhelmed, you saw only the chaos. But I saw what was happening underneath. The stretching of your capacity to trust me, the refining of your ability to recognize my voice, the stripping away of the fears that once dictated your steps. You didn't realize it then, but every tear you cried in confusion was watering the soil of the faith that is rising in you now. Every day you endured when you felt unqualified was building the resilience that is now becoming your strength. Every prayer you whispered when you felt too tired to speak was shaping a connection with me that is now unshakable. What once overwhelmed you was not punishment. It was preparation, molding your spirit into someone who no longer trembles at every wind of adversity. And now, as you step into this new chapter, you will begin to see the transformation with your own eyes. Things that once triggered fear will trigger faith. Situations that once sent you spiraling will now push you into clarity. Challenges that once caused panic will now awaken peace. You are different. You are anchored. You are grounded. Your heart has learned what it means to trust even when it doesn't understand, to stand even when it doesn't feel strong, to believe even when evidence is still forming. And this deep, unforced, steady faith is the fruit of everything you once thought you would never survive. So don't look back with shame at what overwhelmed you. Look back with awe, because those storms trained you. Those hardships shaped you. Those moments of heaviness carved out space for a faith stronger than fear, stronger than emotion, stronger than circumstance. What once overwhelmed your heart is now the very testimony that proves my presence, my protection, and my purpose over your life. And that faith, your faith, is about to carry you into everything I have prepared for you. Hear me speak this with the authority of a dawn breaking over the mountains. Where confusion once clouded your mind, clarity will now flow. Where despair once stole your direction, purpose will now guide your steps. You walked through seasons where everything felt blurry, your thoughts, your decisions, your emotions, your desires. You tried to make sense of things that felt tangled, tried to choose paths when every road seemed uncertain, tried to plan your life while your heart felt fractured. Confusion wrapped itself around your vision, making even simple choices feel overwhelming. And despair whispered that maybe the confusion meant you were lost, unworthy, or incapable of finding your way. But the confusion is lifting. The fog is thinning. The heaviness is breaking. I am clearing the mental clutter, quieting the internal noise, and ushering you into a season where you can finally hear me with clarity and confidence. You will begin to see things differently, not through the lens of pain or fear, but through the eyes of purpose and truth. Decisions that once felt impossible will suddenly feel clear. Directions that once felt hidden will become unmistakable. You will feel alignment where you once felt scattered. You will feel conviction where you once felt doubt. You will feel guidance where you once felt lost. And hear this. Clarity is not just about knowing what to do. It's about knowing who you are becoming. I am aligning your desires with your calling. I am awakening dreams that match your purpose. I am removing distractions that once derailed you. I am strengthening your intuition so that you recognize my leading instantly. Your steps will not be shaky. They will be steady. Your decisions will not be filled with fear. They will be filled with confidence. Your path will not be random. It will be divinely ordered. Where despair once tried to rob you of vision, I am restoring your sight. Where confusion once fogged your mind, I am sharpening your discernment. Where indecision once paralyzed you, I am empowering your steps. This is the season where you will walk with clarity, not forced, not fragile, not frantic, but natural, steady, peaceful, and guided by a divine hand that has never once led you astray. You will know where to go because I am going with you, and my presence brings clarity every time. Feel this truth settle deep into the parts of you that have felt empty for far too long. I am restoring what was drained from you, not partially, not temporarily, but fully and deeply, in places you did not even realize had grown weary. You have been running on survival mode for years, giving from empty wells, pushing through emotional exhaustion, adapting to situations that demanded more than you had. fighting battles that took more from you than anyone around you ever saw. You kept going long after your strength should have failed. You kept showing up even when your heart felt depleted. You kept holding responsibilities, holding others together, holding yourself together, often without space to rest. But hear me. Your season of depletion is ending, and your season of restoration has begun. I am giving back what was drained, joy that once flowed easily, energy that once felt natural, creativity that once sparked effortlessly, peace that once lived in your spirit without resistance. I am restoring emotional stability where turmoil lived. I am restoring mental clarity where fog lingered. I am restoring spiritual strength where doubt tried to weaken you. I am restoring confidence where insecurity grew roots. I am restoring rest where exhaustion settled like a permanent companion. Restoration is not simply recovery. It is renewal. It is not you returning to who you were. It is you becoming stronger than you've ever been. When I restore, I do not bring you back to your old form. I bring you back fuller, clearer, wiser, steadier. I fill the cracks with strength. I fill the empty spaces with purpose. I fill the wounded areas with healing. I fill the forgotten dreams with fresh breath. You will not be a patchwork version of yourself. You will be a renewed, elevated, strengthened version of who you were always meant to be. And hear this. The restoration I am bringing is not momentary. It is not a short break before the next struggle. This restoration is foundational. It is rebuilding you from the inside out, your soul, your heart, your mind, your spirit. You will feel energy returning. You will feel passion reigniting. You will feel clarity awakening. You will feel hope steadying. You will feel yourself coming alive again in ways you haven't felt in years. What struggle drained, I am restoring. What battles stole, I am replenishing. What heaviness consumed, I am renewing. You are being restored, not slightly, but wholly, and this restoration will shape every step you take moving forward. Hear me speak this over you with clarity and authority. You are not stepping into this new season empty-handed, not even close. You are stepping into it wiser, stronger, and more deeply rooted in me than you have ever been in your entire life. You may feel like you've lost time. You may feel like you've lost people. You may feel like you've lost pieces of yourself along the way. But what you gained, what I built inside you, far outweighs anything you think you left behind. You are carrying lessons forged in fire. You are carrying strength born out of endurance. You are carrying discernment sharpened through pressure. You are carrying compassion that only comes from surviving what once tried to crush you. You are not entering this next chapter empty. You are entering it equipped. And I need you to understand this. Everything you went through produced something eternal in you. Pain matured you. Delays refined you. Disappointments redirected you. Loneliness deepened your dependence on my presence. Waiting strengthened your patience. Loss expanded your capacity to love. Every part of your journey added something to you, even when it felt like life was only taking from you. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was pointless. Nothing was random. Each moment has contributed to the version of you who is now stepping into a new season with a foundation that cannot be shaken. You are wiser now, not because you learned everything, but because you learned what truly matters. You no longer chase what drains you. You no longer cling to what is beneath your calling. You no longer run after validation that never satisfies. Your priorities have shifted, your vision has sharpened, and your heart has matured. You are entering this season with clarity that only comes from walking through storms and realizing that I was the only constant you ever needed. You are stronger now, not just emotionally or mentally, but spiritually. You've discovered resilience you didn't know you had. You've learned how to stand even when you felt like collapsing. You've learned how to pray when you didn't have words. You've learned how to keep walking when the ground beneath you felt unstable. You survived what should have broken you, and that survival became strength. And you are more grounded in me, because in the moments when everything else failed you, I remained. When people changed, I stayed. When circumstances shifted, I held you steady. When you questioned everything, I reminded you who you are. So do not walk into this new season small, timid, or afraid. You are not entering empty. You are entering prepared. You are entering equipped. You are entering with depth, wisdom, strength, and spiritual authority that will shape everything you touch. This new season is not simply a place you are going. It is a place you are ready for. Listen carefully, because this truth will frame your future. Everything you learned in the wilderness, the season of stretching, waiting, breaking, and rebuilding, is becoming the very foundation upon which your destiny will stand. The wilderness was not punishment. It was preparation. It was the classroom where I taught you endurance, the training ground where I shaped your faith, the quiet place where I removed distractions so you could hear me more clearly. You thought you were wandering aimlessly, but I was guiding every step. You thought the wilderness was delaying your life, but it was actually developing you, strengthening you, deepening you, preparing you for the weight of what's coming next. The wilderness taught you things prosperity never could. It taught you humility when pride tried to creep in. It taught you trust when nothing made sense. It taught you resilience when circumstances kept shifting. It taught you discernment when voices around you were loud, but my whisper was the only one that mattered. It taught you spiritual maturity, how to stand on truth even when you didn't feel strong, how to anchor yourself in me when everything else felt uncertain, how to remain faithful in seasons where nothing seemed to be happening. These lessons were not random. They were essential. You may have looked at the wilderness as a season of stagnation, but in reality, it was a season of foundation. You were not stuck. You were being rooted. You were not forgotten. You were being fortified. You were not overlooked. You were being equipped for a future that required wisdom your past self did not yet have. Every tear you cried in the wilderness watered the soil of the destiny you are now stepping into. Every disappointment carved depth into your character. Every closed door taught you which doors are worth walking through. Every prayer shaped your spirit into someone who can carry influence with humility and authority. And now, the wilderness is behind you, but its lessons remain. They are your pillars. They are your compass. They are the invisible strength beneath your feet. They are why you will not collapse when your blessings increase. They are why you will not lose yourself when opportunities expand. They are why you will not return to old cycles. Your wilderness shaped you, and now the destiny you are entering will stand firmly on everything you learned there. Your past season was not wasted, it was foundational. And because of that, your future will be unshakable. Hear me with a clarity that removes all remaining doubt. The battles you endured, all of them, have equipped you for the blessings that are now approaching your life. Blessings and battles often walk together, not because one cancels the other, but because battles refine the heart needed to steward blessings well. You did not go through hardship to come out empty-handed. Every struggle strengthened a muscle you will soon rely on. Every tear expanded your compassion. Every setback increased your wisdom. Every heartbreak softened the places inside you that needed tenderness. Every victory, no matter how small, built confidence you will need when doors open. You are not entering your blessing season naive or unprepared. You are entering it seasoned, tested, refined. You've learned how to appreciate what you once overlooked. You've learned how to protect what matters. You've learned how to recognize what is from me and what is not. You've learned how to discern real peace from temporary relief. You've learned how to stay grounded even when life shifts unexpectedly. These battles taught you how to remain stable in seasons of increase. And I want you to hear this clearly. Blessings require strength. They require maturity. They require discernment. They require humility. They require identity. They require a spirit that knows how to stay anchored. Without the battles, the blessings would have overwhelmed you. Without the pain, the gifts ahead would have been misused or misunderstood. Without the wilderness, the promised land would have felt too heavy for your heart to hold. But now, you are ready. Not perfect, not flawless, but strengthened, seasoned, sharpened by everything you've survived. The blessings coming to you will not slip through your fingers. You will not sabotage them. You will not fear them. You will not shrink before them. You will not question whether you deserve them. You will walk into them carrying the strength, clarity, and faith formed through every battle behind you. What once broke you is now what built you. What once scared you is now what shaped you. What once would you know what equipped you. You are ready for what's next because you survived what came before. Hear me with a depth that reaches into every memory you still don't understand. You are on the edge of recognizing that nothing, absolutely nothing, you went through was wasted. Not the tears you cried in silence. Not the nights when fear kept you awake. Not the heartbreaks that shattered you. Not the delays that frustrated you. Not the disappointments that felt like dead ends. Not the seasons where you questioned your worth or your purpose. Every moment you survived, every emotion you endured, every struggle you faced has been woven into a purpose far greater than your present understanding. What you thought was random pain was actually strategic preparation. What you thought was meaningless suffering was actually meaningful shaping. What you thought was wasted time was actually time I used to fortify you from the inside out. There are things you experienced that made no sense at the time, situations that left you asking, why this? Why me? Why now? But I was using those very moments to sharpen your discernment, deepen your compassion, refine your character, and stabilize your heart. I was molding you into someone who could carry peace in chaos, someone who could recognize truth in confusion, someone who could hold on to faith when evidence seemed absent. Nothing was wasted, not even the failures. Your mistakes taught you humility and wisdom. Your setbacks taught you patience and resilience. Your losses taught you what truly matters. Your loneliness taught you to hear my voice more clearly than the noise around you. Soon, you will look back with revelation, not regret. You will see the connections between the experiences you thought were unrelated. You will see how your growth came from battles you didn't choose but overcame anyway. You will see how your strength was formed in places where you once felt weak. You will see how every chapter, beautiful or painful, has brought you to this moment of readiness. You will realize that the version of you standing here today could only exist because of the roads you walked, the storms you weathered, the wounds you healed from, and the courage you cultivated unknowingly. You are about to enter a season where clarity will replace confusion. Understanding will replace why. Testimony will replace trauma. And gratitude will replace the heaviness that lived in your heart for too long. You will soon recognize that nothing was wasted because I never waste anything. I transform it. And everything you endured will soon reveal the purpose it was shaping you for all along. You will see the beauty of a life divinely designed, even when the process felt painful. And when that realization comes, your heart will breathe differently, because you will finally understand that every step was leading you somewhere sacred. Listen closely, because this truth will reshape the way you view your entire journey. Every delay that frustrated you, every detour that confused you, and every disappointment that broke your heart was positioning you for a promise far greater than anything you tried to hold on to. You saw delays as wasted time, but I saw them as protection, moments when I slowed you down so you wouldn't walk into situations that weren't worthy of you. You saw detours as obstacles, but I saw them as divine rerouting, guiding you away from paths that would have drained your spirit or distracted your purpose. You saw disappointments as endings, but I saw them as redirections, removing what could not be part of your destiny, no matter how much you wanted it to be. You thought you were falling behind, but you were actually falling into alignment with a plan bigger than your expectations. You thought you were being denied, but you were being preserved. You thought you were losing time, but you were gaining depth, wisdom, and clarity, qualities you would need for the promises ahead. Every no you received made space for a better yes. Every door that closed kept you from settling for less than I intended for you. Every situation that ended prematurely ended because it was not built to carry the weight of your future. You weren't being kept from something. You were being positioned for something. Detours taught you adaptability. Delays taught you patience. Disappointments taught you discernment. Everything you experienced shaped your ability to recognize what is truly meant for you versus what was only meant for a moment. And now, the promise ahead of you requires all the wisdom you gained. You are not entering your future unprepared or unaware. You are entering it with sharpened intuition, deeper maturity, and a stronger connection to my voice than ever before. And hear me. The promises ahead of you would not have fit the old version of you. A version needed refinement. It needed growth. It needed healing. It needed perspective. The delays gave you that. The detours gave you that. The disappointments gave you that. You are stepping into a promise that matches the strength, resilience, and wisdom you now carry. And you will soon see that everything you thought was working against you was actually working for you, setting you up for a future more aligned, more fulfilling, and more expansive than you imagined. You were not delayed, you were prepared. You were not detoured, you were redirected. You were not denied, you were protected. And now, you are positioned perfectly for the promise ahead. Feel this with the expectancy your spirit has longed for. You are stepping into a chapter where my favor will not trickle. It will flow freely, consistently, abundantly over your life. You have spent years in seasons where progress felt slow, blessings felt delayed, and breakthroughs felt distant. You have walked through times when it seemed like nothing was moving, nothing was changing, nothing was breaking open. But this next chapter is different. This is a chapter of acceleration, a chapter of open doors, a chapter of divine connections, a chapter where things begin to align naturally, effortlessly, because you are in the rhythm of my timing, not just your own efforts. My favor is not earned, it is given. And you are entering a time where that favor will surround you like a shield. Doors that were stuck will open. Opportunities that were hidden will reveal themselves. Conversations that felt impossible will suddenly happen. Resources you lack will find their way to you. People meant for your future will appear, often unexpectedly. Solutions will come with ease. The things you struggled to build before will now rise with grace instead of strain. Not because circumstances suddenly changed, but because you have changed, and now you are aligned with what I am releasing. This season will not require the same exhausting fight you endured before. This is not a season of striving, it is a season of receiving. Not because you are doing less, but because you are walking with me more closely. You are aligned with my pace, my purpose, my presence. And when alignment happens, favor flows. Favor is the evidence that I am going before you, preparing the way, smoothing the path, orchestrating details you could never assemble on your own. And you will feel it, not as a dramatic burst, but as a steady, continual unfolding. You will find yourself saying, "This used to be hard, but now it's happening with ease." You will notice peace in places where anxiety used to live. You will see provision where there once was lack. You will feel confidence where fear once dominated. You will watch doors open without you forcing them. This is the chapter where you experience what it means to live under my favor, not occasionally, but consistently. And hear me, this favor is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is not conditional. It is rooted in the journey you survived and the alignment you stepped into. The flow has begun, and you will walk in it, benefit from it, and be transformed by it as I usher you into the fullness of what have been waiting for you all along. Listen to me with a readiness that comes from everything you survived. The doors that once refused to budge, doors you knocked on until your knuckles bruised, doors you prayed over, doors you wept in front of, will now begin to open effortlessly. Not because you finally found the right strategy, not because you finally became good enough, not because circumstances magically shifted on their own. These doors are opening now because the timing is right, because you are right, and because I have prepared both you and the blessing on the other side. You spent years trying to force opportunities that were never meant to open in the season you were standing in. You blamed yourself for what didn't open, thinking maybe you lacked something: skill, worth, favor, clarity. But the truth is none of those doors could open then because they weren't aligned with the version of you I was forming. Now, something has shifted. You have been refined. You have been strengthened. You have been deepened. You have gained discernment, humility, maturity, resilience, and wisdom. You have been prepared to walk through doors that once would have crushed you had they opened too soon. That is why they remained closed, not as punishment, but as protection. But now those same doors, the ones that once felt impossible, will begin to respond differently to your presence. Where there was resistance, there will be ease. Where there were blockages, there will be alignment. Where there was waiting, there will be movement. And hear me clearly, these doors will not open because you strive. They will open because you are sent. They will open because my favor is the key, because my presence is the authority, because my timing is the hinge. Some doors will open without you even touching them. Opportunities will seek you out. Connections will find you. Resources will appear in ways you never imagined. You will experience moments where you step into places you once thought were out of reach and realize, this was always mine. I just wasn't ready then. Do not be surprised when you see sudden shifts. Do not be startled when someone reaches out unexpectedly. Do not doubt when old barriers fall away. This is not randomness. This is me. This is what happens when preparation meets divine timing. This is the fruit of endurance. This is the evidence that the season of no is ended and the season of now is arrived. So walk forward without fear, because the doors that were once closed are about to open, effortlessly, naturally, beautifully, and you will step through them with a confidence formed in the very seasons where everything once felt stuck. Hear me with expectation rising in your spirit. The opportunities you thought you missed forever, those moments you mourned, those chances you felt slip through your fingers, are coming back around, but this time in greater form. You looked at certain seasons of your life and assumed you had blown it. You thought you had missed your moment. You thought you had waited too long, or moved too slowly, or trusted the wrong people, or been in the wrong place at the wrong time. You replayed decisions, wondering if things would have been different had you acted sooner. You blamed yourself for doors that closed, opportunities that faded, or seasons that ended abruptly. But what you called missed opportunities, I call protected opportunities. I did not allow them to unfold then because they were too small for the destiny I was shaping inside you. They were too premature, too underdeveloped, too fragile to support the weight of the calling on your life. So I allowed some things to pass by, not as loss, but as divine postponement. And now, because you are wiser, stronger, clearer, more grounded, and more aligned with me, those opportunities, redeemed, expanded, multiplied, are returning in ways that will surprise you. You will see things reappear that you once thought were gone forever. Dreams reigniting, passions resurfacing, people reaching out, doors reopening, invitations you once hoped for now coming at a time when you can actually handle them. You will see the same themes return: purpose, calling, passion, creativity, influence. But this time they will have depth and strength. This time they will be healthier. This time they will be more aligned with who you actually are rather than who you were trying to be. What you lost was not wasted time, it was seed time. And seeds do not return as seeds, they return as harvest. And that is what's coming to you now. Harvested opportunities, matured blessings, upgraded chances, expanded paths. You will step into a season where life echoes back to you the very things you thought were gone, but now multiplied, strengthened, and tailored perfectly for this new version of you. The opportunities you thought you missed are returning, not as they were, but as they were always meant to be. Hear me speak this with unshakable certainty. You are about to walk in breakthroughs that once felt impossible, unreachable, unimaginable. There were situations where you said, "I don't see a way out." There were problems that felt too big to overcome. There were cycles you believed you would never break. There were patterns you thought would always define you. There were prayers that felt unanswered, hopes that felt unrealistic, desires that felt too painful to keep believing in. You looked at certain areas of your life, your healing, your future, your relationships, your finances, your calling, and thought maybe this is just how it's always going to be. But breakthroughs don't come when you feel capable. They come when I decide the time is right. And the time is right now. Breakthrough is not just improvement. It's not just progress. It's not just things getting a little better. Breakthrough is sudden shift. Breakthrough is supernatural intervention. Breakthrough is the moment things change without explanation. Breakthrough is when barriers fall that you spent years trying to climb. Breakthrough is when what once resisted you suddenly gives way. Breakthrough is when you walk into answers that used to feel out of reach. You will see breakthrough in areas where you have cried, fought, questioned, and waited. You will see breakthrough in habits that once controlled you. You will see breakthrough in emotional patterns that once held you hostage. You will see breakthrough in areas of lack that once kept you restricted. You will see breakthrough in relationships that needed healing or closure. You will see breakthrough in dreams you tucked away because they hurt too much to think about. And hear me, this breakthrough will not be fragile. It will not be shaky. It will not be temporary. It will be established, rooted, undeniable. It will carry the weight of my power and the gentleness of my love. You will walk into it with a peace that says, "Only God could have done this." You will experience it with a confidence that says, "I have stepped into something meant for me." And you will carry it with a gratitude that transforms how you see every part of your journey. Breakthrough is not ahead of you. It is unfolding now, and you will walk in it. Hear me with the authority that awakens something deep within you. I am releasing a new level of strength inside you, a strength you did not even realize you gained through every painful moment you survived. You believed the pain only drained you, weakened you, diminished you, or stripped pieces of you away. But while suffering felt like it was breaking you, it was actually building something within you that could not have been forged any other way. Strength was forming in the silence of your tears. Strength was building in the moments where you had nothing left but still took another breath. Strength was rising in every step you took while feeling overwhelmed. Strength was being sculpted in the dark, where you fought battles no one else saw. And now, I am releasing that strength, activating what has been quietly maturing under the surface. Your strength will feel different from anything you've known before. It will not be loud or aggressive. It will be steady, grounded, unshakable. It will show up in the way you handle challenges that once triggered panic. It will reveal itself in your ability to stay calm where you used to crumble, to stay centered where you used to spiral, to stay faithful where you used to freeze in fear. It will empower you to make decisions with clarity, to speak with confidence, to walk with courage, and to trust my voice over every anxious thought that once dominated your mind. This is not a strength you have to strive for. It's a strength that has already been deposited into your spirit. It is the strength that comes from endurance, from perseverance, from holding on to me even when you didn't understand what I was doing. It is a strength that cannot be taken from you because it was formed through seasons that nearly took everything from you. Pain did not weaken you the way you assumed. It refined you. It purified your motives. It deepened your compassion. It sharpened your awareness. It expanded your resilience. And now that strength is rising within you like a quiet flame that cannot be extinguished. In this season, you will shock yourself with how stable you feel. You will recognize that the old version of you is gone, not because you forced transformation, but because strength has grown where weakness once lived. You will face things with a courage that feels foreign but welcomed. You will walk forward aware that you are not who you used to be. You are stronger, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and that strength will carry you into everything I have prepared. Pain did not destroy you. It strengthened you. And now, I am releasing that strength fully into your life. Hear this with the depth of someone finally stepping into their truth. You will no longer walk as someone who is barely surviving. You will rise as someone who overcame, someone who triumphed, someone who carries victory in their very breath because you walked through the fire with me. You spent years feeling like you were just holding on, just making it through another day, just trying to stay afloat. You carried yourself with quiet exhaustion, as someone who felt the weight of survival more than the joy of living. You learned how to function wounded. You learned how to move forward with broken pieces. You learned how to smile while your soul was gasping for air. But hear me now. That season is over. I am calling you to rise, not slowly, not timidly, not half-heartedly, but fully, boldly, confidently. You are not stepping into this next chapter with the identity of someone who barely made it. You are stepping in with the identity of someone who overcame. And overcoming is not simply surviving. It is emerging with wisdom, with depth, with spiritual authority, with an unshakable awareness of my presence. You carry the marks of someone who walked through pain and came out refined, not ruined. You carry the mindset of someone who learned what truly matters. You carry the heart of someone who discovered resilience they didn't know existed. You will begin to notice this shift in how you speak, in how you think, in how you handle challenges. You will no longer navigate life with fear as your default response. You will no longer shrink under pressure. You will no longer walk as someone waiting for the next blow. You will walk with the calm assurance of someone who has already seen what darkness tried to do and lived to tell the story. You will stand with the quiet strength of someone who knows that my hand was with them in nights where nothing made sense. You will rise with the confidence of someone who knows that victory was not achieved alone. It was carried, sustained, and delivered by my presence. And hear this, your identity has shifted. You are not the wounded version of yourself anymore. You are not the fearful version. You are not the fragile version. You are not the version who questioned everything about themselves. You are rising as someone who has endured the storm and come out with fire in their spirit. You are rising as someone who is prepared for greater things because you have been tested and proven. And as you rise, you will see that you were never just surviving. You were being strengthened for this very moment. Now, rise as the overcomer you truly are. Listen to me carefully, because this truth will transform the way you navigate your days. The voice of doubt that once shouted so loudly inside you, telling you that you weren't enough, that you were failing, that nothing would change, is about to grow faint, fading into nothing as my voice becomes louder, clearer, closer within your spirit. Doubt used to dominate your inner world and question your worth. It mocked your progress. It magnified your flaws. It blurred your direction. It made you second-guess every step you took. It whispered lies about your future until you felt paralyzed by uncertainty. But I have been shifting something inside you. I have been softening your spirit to my presence. I have been training your ear to my whisper. I have been strengthening your ability to recognize my truth above every lie. This is the season where doubt will no longer have the same power. It may attempt to speak, but its volume will be weak. It may attempt to rise, but it will have no authority. Its words will fall flat because your spirit has been tuned to a higher frequency, mine. You will begin to sense clarity where you once sensed confusion. You will feel my peace settle in places where anxiety once lived. You will hear my reassurance in moments where you used to panic. You will feel my truth cutting through lies like light cutting through fog. This shift is not accidental. It is intentional. I have been drawing you closer, little by little, moment by moment, even in the seasons where you felt disconnected. I have been imprinting my voice into your heart until it becomes the loudest, strongest, most familiar sound in your spirit. And my voice will not come as pressure or fear. It will come as peace, as clarity, as steady direction, as a deep sense of knowing that aligns perfectly with my love for you. Doubt once felt like your constant companion, but now it will feel like a distant memory. You won't have to fight it the way you once did. My presence will drown it out. My truth will override it. My peace will silence it. And as my voice grows louder in your spirit, you will walk with confidence, make decisions with clarity, move forward without fear, and trust me with a depth you didn't know you were capable of. This is the season where doubt loses its voice, and my voice becomes your anchor. Hear me now with a sensitivity your spirit has finally grown strong enough to receive. You are entering a season where my guidance will not feel distant or confusing, but undeniable, unmistakable, deeply personal. So clear that you will look back and say, I could feel him leading me. You have spent years trying to discern my voice through layers of fear, overthinking, doubt, and emotional noise. You questioned whether you were hearing me or hearing your own thoughts. You questioned whether you were making the right moves or wandering in circles. You questioned whether I was speaking at all. But all this time, I was not silent. I was strengthening your spiritual senses, allowing them to mature so that when my leading becomes clear, you will recognize it instantly. Now, your inner world is shifting. The confusion is fading. The fog is lifting. Your heart is becoming more sensitive to my nudges, those gentle movements in your spirit, those quiet impressions, those deep inner knowings that do not come from logic or emotion but from me. You will find yourself drawn toward certain things with a peace that doesn't make sense. You will feel cautioned about other things with a clarity that surprises you. You will recognize the difference between fear and discernment, between anxiety and warning, between desire and divine direction. You will know my guidance, not because it is loud, but because it is consistent, steady, grounding, unmistakably loving. You will see alignment in places where doors open naturally, conversations flow effortlessly, resources appear unexpectedly, and opportunities feel magnetically right. That is my hand. You will feel resistance in places that are not meant for you, tension, hesitation, disruption in your spirit that warns you to pause. That is my hand too. I am not just guiding your steps, I am guiding your instincts, shaping the way you sense truth, shaping the way you interpret peace, shaping the way you read the environment around you. My guidance is no longer something you will guess at. It is something you will confidently recognize. You will walk differently because of this. You will make decisions with a confidence that comes from knowing you are not walking alone. You will step into opportunities without the fear of being misled. You will approach relationships with a renewed certainty of who belongs and who does not. You will face challenges with the assurance that every step you take is supported by me. This is not imagination. This is not emotional projection. This is the fruit of the closeness you have cultivated with me through every season of hardship. You will feel me guiding you, subtly, lovingly, consistently, in ways you once thought were only for other people. You will know my voice because you have walked through fire learning how to hear me. And now, the awareness will guide your entire life. Listen with the openness of someone finally ready to exhale. The peace I am giving you in this season is not fragile, not temporary, not conditional. This peace will stabilize your emotions and renew your mind daily. You lived through a time when your emotions felt unpredictable, shifting like storms, overwhelming you without warning. You carried anxieties that tightened your chest. You wrestled with thoughts that drained your energy. You fought waves of heaviness that felt too powerful to control. But now, my peace is taking root inside you, not as a fleeting moment, but as a continual presence, a daily companion, a steady anchor. This peace will not depend on circumstances. It will not collapse when challenges arise. It will not disappear when someone disappoints you. It is not the peace that comes from silence or comfort. It is the peace that comes from me living inside your thoughts, regulating your heart, calming your nervous system, and healing the places that once reacted out of trauma rather than truth. You will begin to notice a shift. Where your emotions once spiraled quickly, they will now settle gently. Where your mind once raced uncontrollably, it will now quiet more easily. Where stress once consumed your focus, clarity will now rise naturally. This peace will meet you each morning before the worries do. It will follow you into conversations where you once felt insecure. It will steady your breathing when old fears try to resurface. It will cover your heart when memories try to trigger anxiety. It will keep you grounded even when situations seem uncertain. You will surprise yourself by how calmly you approach things that once overwhelmed you. You will notice that your reactions are changing, less frantic, less emotional, less fearful. Not because you are forcing peace, but because peace is becoming part of you. I am rewiring your mind, not through pressure, but through presence. I am soothing the emotional wounds that once dictated your reactions. I am healing the parts of you that were hypervigilant, cautious, guarded, always bracing for impact. I am giving you a peace that functions like armor, beautiful, gentle armor that guards your heart and mind without making you hard or distant. You will feel lighter, clearer, more balanced. Things that once kept you up at night will no longer disturb your rest. Things that once triggered panic will now meet a stable spirit. This peace is your inheritance. This peace is your protection. This peace is your healing. And this peace will remain with you every single day. Hear me with a tenderness that reaches into the cracks of your identity. I am renewing your confidence, not the kind built on performance or perfection, but the kind rooted in my presence, anchored in who you are becoming, strengthened by who I have always been to you. You spent so long doubting yourself. You questioned your abilities, your worth, your decisions, your steps, your very identity. You assumed that confidence was something other people had, people who were stronger, smarter, more stable, more sure of themselves. But I am telling you now, the confidence rising in you has nothing to do with perfection and everything to do with presence, my presence in you, with you, and around you. You will feel this confidence growing subtly at first. You will notice yourself speaking with more conviction, even when your voice trembles. You will feel the courage to take steps that once intimidated you. You will begin to believe in your own intuition, your own growth, your own capacity. You will stop apologizing for existing. You will stop shrinking in rooms you were meant to fill. You will stop questioning whether your presence is necessary. You will know it is. This confidence is not ego. It is alignment. It is you finally seeing yourself the way I have always seen you, capable, chosen, equipped, intentional, necessary. It is a confidence anchored not in what you have done, but in the fact that I walk with you, speak through you, strengthen you, and uphold you. Your confidence will not be loud. It will be steady. It will not be forced. It will be natural. It will not be fragile. It will be rooted deeply in truth rather than emotion. You will choose differently because you believe differently. You will carry yourself differently because you see yourself differently. You will make bold choices because you trust the one guiding you. And hear me. Confidence is not thinking you are capable of everything. It is knowing you are never facing anything alone. That is the kind of confidence I am restoring within you. The confidence that says, I am not perfect, but I am guided. I am not flawless, but I am chosen. I am not without weakness, but I am never without help. This is the confidence of someone who has walked through fire and learned who walked with them. This is the confidence of someone who knows they made it, not alone, but upheld, strengthened, and carried. And this renewed confidence will become one of the greatest gifts of your new season. Listen to me with the full weight of who you are becoming. You are rising into a version of yourself that no battle, no heartbreak, no season of suffering was able to destroy. You have walked through fires that felt like they were consuming you, storms that felt like they were drowning you, and valleys that felt too dark to navigate. Yet here you stand, not as someone who barely survived, but as someone who is emerging transformed, refined, strengthened in ways you still haven't fully realized. Pain tried to shape your identity, but it failed. Fear tried to silence your purpose, but it couldn't. Discouragement tried to steal your hope, but it lost. Every attempt to break you only revealed the strength I placed inside you long before the battle began. You are rising now, not slowly but steadily, boldly, intentionally. You are rising into a version of yourself that sees life differently, that approaches challenges differently, that carries yourself differently. You are rising with eyes that have seen darkness but now recognize the brilliance of light. You are rising with a heart that has been wounded but healed in ways that make compassion flow more deeply than before. You are rising with a spirit that has learned endurance at a level others cannot understand. Suffering didn't make you fragile, it made you fortified. Loss didn't empty you, it carved room for abundance. Pain didn't stop you, it pushed you into purpose. And hear me, you are not rising from the ashes as someone unrecognizable. You are rising as the truest version of yourself. The version that existed beneath fear, beneath doubt, beneath burdens that were never meant to define you. The version of you that is aligned with my intention. The version of you that carries wisdom instead of worry, peace instead of panic, maturity instead of instability, hope instead of despair. You are rising into your identity, not fabricated, not exaggerated, but divinely awakened. You will feel this rise in how you respond to things that once overwhelmed you. You will feel it in the way old triggers lose their power. You will feel it in your ability to love again, trust again, dream again. You will feel it in the way your heart rests without the constant weight of fear pressing against it. You are rising with purpose, rising with authority, rising with clarity, because nothing you endured was able to destroy who you are. If anything, it revealed who you were always meant to become. Hear this with a heart ready to receive healing at depths you once closed off. I am restoring the joy that life drained out of you, but not partially, not in fragments, not just enough to help you get by. I am restoring your joy in fullness. Joy slipped through your fingers in seasons where sadness felt too strong, where responsibilities weighed too heavily, where disappointment sank too deeply into your spirit. There were days when you woke up feeling empty, days when laughter felt foreign, days when you wondered if joy was something you would ever feel again. Not the surface-level smile you forced for others, but the deep, soul-rooted joy that fills you from the inside. But hear me, your joy was never lost. It was buried under burdens too heavy for your heart to carry alone. And now, I am lifting those burdens. I am removing the layers of grief, exhaustion, numbness, and emotional heaviness that kept joy from rising within you. I am healing the places inside you that closed themselves off in fear of being hurt again. I am breathing life into the parts of you that felt too tired to feel anything at all. I am restoring joy, not the old joy you once had, but a greater joy, a deeper joy, a more mature and grounded joy that flows from resilience, gratitude, and spiritual awakening. This joy will not be fragile. It won't disappear the moment life becomes complicated. It won't collapse under pressure. It won't shrink when challenges come. This joy will be rooted in me, the kind of joy that remains steady even in uncertainty, that fills you even when circumstances shift, that gives you strength even when answers aren't clear yet. And you will feel it returning in moments that surprise you, a sudden lightness in your heart, a quiet smile you weren't expecting, a renewed excitement for the future, a spark of creativity, a warm sense of hope rising from within. This is my gift to you, not temporary happiness, but lasting joy. You will feel your soul awaken in ways you forgot were possible. You will feel laughter return to places that have been silent for too long. You will feel peace and pleasure returning in simple moments. You will feel emotional color coming back to a life that once felt gray. I am restoring your joy, not piece by piece, but in fullness, overflowing, abundant, deep. And this joy will be a defining part of your new season. Hear me speak this with the authority of one who knows every detail of your journey. The light I placed within you will not only return, it will shine brighter than any darkness you walked through. Darkness covered many parts of your life for a long time, not always visibly, but internally, in your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, your sense of direction. You walked through seasons where shadows felt heavy, where hope felt dim, where confusion clouded your vision, where exhaustion dulled your soul. You felt like light was slipping away from you, and at times you questioned whether you would ever feel brightness again. But darkness never had the authority to extinguish the light inside you. It tried, yes. It pressed, yes. It lingered, yes. But the light I placed in you was never fragile. It flickered, but it never died. It dimmed, but it never disappeared. Even when you felt consumed by darkness, even when you felt numb or lost or overwhelmed, my light within you remained alive, waiting for the moment your spirit was ready to rise again. And now, that moment has come. I am amplifying the light inside you, strengthening it, expanding it, making it shine with a brilliance that reflects everything you survived. Your light will not be the same light you had before the storm. It will be brighter because it has been tested by darkness and remain. This light will illuminate your path with clarity you didn't have before. It will draw opportunities toward you. It will shift the atmosphere around you. It will transform the way you see yourself. It will inspire others who are walking through their own darkness. It will become a beacon, subtle yet undeniable, of resilience, faith, healing, and hope. And hear me, this light is not something you have to force. It's not something you have to pretend. It's not something you must strive to maintain. It is what naturally rises when healing has taken place, when the heart has been restored, when the soul remembers its strength, when the spirit reconnects with its purpose. Your light is part of you, divinely placed, divinely protected, divinely strengthened. The darkness tried to overwhelm you, but it failed. Now your light is rising with a brilliance that will overshadow every shadow you once walked through. It will guide you. It will protect you. It will elevate you. It will remind you that even in the darkest nights, the light I placed within you was always stronger. Hear me with a tenderness that reaches into the places where hope once lived and dimmed. The hope you thought was gone, the hope that felt crushed beneath disappointment, drained by waiting and silenced by sorrow, is rising again inside you, stronger, steadier, and more unshakable than it has ever been. Hope didn't die in you. It simply went dormant when life became too heavy for you to carry expectations without fear. It hid beneath layers of grief, beneath long seasons of uncertainty, beneath the exhaustion of trying to stay encouraged while everything around you felt unstable. You thought your hope had faded beyond repair, that the light within you had been snuffed out by the weight of struggle. But hear me, hope is not a fragile flame that burns only when life is easy. Hope is a resilient force I planted in you from the beginning, and it has been quietly waiting for permission to rise again. And now that rising has begun, it will come back in a rush of emotion, not all at once in some dramatic moment. Instead, it rises like dawn, gradually, softly, but inevitably. You will feel it first as a small stirring, an unexpected spark of possibility, a moment where your heart feels lighter, a sense that maybe your future holds more than what your past has shown. This is not imagination. This is resurrection. This is hope reclaiming the ground that sorrow tried to occupy permanently. It grows every time you look forward instead of backward, every time you breathe deeply instead of bracing for more pain, every time you dare to imagine goodness again. Hope is returning differently this time, not as naive optimism, not as blind idealism, not as shallow positivity. This is seasoned hope, tested, refined, matured, strengthened in the fire of everything you've walked through. This hope will not break easily. It will not collapse under disappointment. It will not shrink at the first sign of difficulty. It has been reborn through endurance. It has been nourished through resilience. It has been shaped by what you survived. And now, this renewed hope is prepared to anchor you, guide you, empower you, and lift you in ways your former hope never could. You will notice yourself believing again, not because circumstances force you to, but because your spirit is alive again. You will dream again, not because you are pretending to be strong, but because your heart is ready to expand. You will expect good things, not because you are ignoring reality, but because you now understand that darkness never gets the final say. Hope is rising, and this time, it rises with roots. This time, it rises with strength. This time, it rises as a defining force in your new season. You thought it was gone, but it was only waiting for this moment to return more powerful than before. Listen to me with a readiness that comes from healing. I am opening your eyes to see possibilities, real, expansive, life-altering possibilities that you simply could not see while you were hurting. Pain narrows your vision. Grief distorts your perspective. Exhaustion blurs clarity. Fear makes the future look smaller than it truly is. When your heart is overwhelmed, it's not that opportunities disappear, it's that your eyes cannot recognize them. It is not that possibility is absent. It's simply hidden beneath the weight of sorrow, confusion, and emotional fatigue. And for a long time, your vision was clouded. Not because you lacked faith, but because you were fighting battles that left little room for dreaming. But now, as healing settles into the deepest part of you, your vision is returning. You are beginning to see beyond survival. You are beginning to imagine beyond recovery. You are beginning to sense what is possible for you, not just what is difficult. I am widening your vision, expanding your capacity to dream, and awakening your imagination in ways you haven't experienced in years. You will feel this shift in the way you evaluate choices, the way you consider new paths, the way you sense potential where you once saw dead ends. Clarity is coming to the places where confusion lived. Creativity is returning to the parts of you that felt numb. Direction is becoming visible where everything once felt blank. And hear this. I am not just opening your eyes to opportunities around you. I am opening your eyes to the potential within you. You will begin to see talents you overlooked, strengths you forgot you had, ideas you suppressed, desires you ignored because life became too heavy. Your capacity is greater than you've ever known. Your purpose is deeper than you realized. Your future is broader than you imagined when your heart was tired. I am opening your eyes so that you no longer see yourself through the lens of brokenness, but through the lens of destiny. Possibilities will begin appearing in conversations, in desires, in sudden moments of inspiration, and opportunities that feel tailor-made for your spirit. It will feel like the world around you has shifted, but truly, it's you who has shifted. Healing has widened your sight. Hope has brightened your vision. Strength has sharpened your discernment. You are no longer looking through the eyes of someone who is trying to survive. You are looking through the eyes of someone who is ready to build, ready to grow, ready to move forward. Your eyes are opening now, not to fantasy, but to the reality of what is possible when pain no longer clouds your perspective. And what you will see next will amaze you. Hear me with the assurance that removes the pressure you've carried for too long, even your smallest steps forward. Yes, even the quiet ones, the hesitant ones, the unsure ones, are creating real momentum toward the life I've prepared for you. You often underestimate the power of small steps because you've lived through seasons where you felt forced to leap, to fight, to endure, to push beyond what felt possible. You've believed that progress had to be dramatic to count, that change had to be sudden to be meaningful, that growth had to be obvious to be real. But I need you to understand something deeply. Small steps shape destinies just as powerfully as giant ones. There were days when getting out of bed was a victory. Days when taking a breath without panic was progress. Days when choosing hope instead of despair was a breakthrough. Days when making a single decision, saying a single prayer, or taking a single action required courage you didn't even realize you possessed. None of those moments were insignificant. None of them were too small to matter. They all built momentum, quietly, steadily, invisibly, until they became the force that is now carrying you into your next season. You may not always feel the momentum. You may think you are moving too slowly. You may feel like your progress is uneven or inconsistent. But hear me, progress is progress, even when it's small, even when it's fragile, even when it's imperfect. Forward is forward. Healing is healing. Healing growth. And right now, every step you take is contributing to a shift that is far larger than you can see. Momentum builds quietly before it becomes visible. Seeds sprout underground before they break the surface. Breakthroughs form long before they reveal themselves. Your small steps are not random. They are aligned. They are guided. They are meaningful. When you choose peace instead of panic, that's momentum. When you make a healthier decision, that's momentum. When you open your heart again after being hurt, that's momentum. When you say yes to opportunities that align with your purpose, that's momentum. When you release what no longer serves you, that's momentum. Each step is being woven into a path I have carefully prepared, and you are walking it, even when you don't realize you are. Do not despise the small steps. They are creating the very momentum that will lead you into the breakthroughs, blessings, relationships, and purpose that are waiting ahead. You are not stagnant. You are not stuck. You are moving beautifully, intentionally, powerfully into the life designed for you. And every step you take brings you closer. Hear me speak this with a shift so powerful it will reframe the way you see every hardship you've ever endured. You are stepping into a season where the very things that once worked against you, the delays, the losses, the betrayals, the disappointments, the closed doors, will now begin to work for you in ways you never imagined. Nothing in your story is wasted, and nothing that once came to harm you will hold its power over you anymore. Instead, those very experiences will become the soil from which new strength, new clarity, new direction, and new blessings grow. The very pain that once dragged you down will become the platform that lifts you up. The very obstacles that hindered you will become testimonies that propel you forward. The very wounds that once weakened you will become the places where my glory shines the brightest. You spent years battling forces you didn't understand, confused by why so many things seemed to push against you at once. You wondered why certain relationships failed, why certain opportunities collapsed, why certain seasons fell apart before they even began. You thought these things were setbacks, punishments, or confirmations that you weren't enough. But hear me clearly. They were redirections, protections, and divine realignments. There were doors I allowed to close because what was behind them would have drained you, derailed you, or diminished the purpose I was shaping in you. There were people I removed because their presence would have pulled you into cycles you were never meant to repeat. There were disappointments I permitted because the path ahead required a clear heart, a sharper mind, and a stronger spirit. And now, all of it, the heaviness, the heartbreak, the confusion, the closed doors, was shifting into alignment with your calling. What once slowed you down will now accelerate you. What once broke you will now build you. What once weakened you will now empower you. What once made you question everything will now confirm purpose in everything. You will begin to see connections between your past battles and your present blessings. You will realize that the very survival you once resented has become the strength you now rely on. You will see that none of it was random. None of it was wasted. And all of it is now turning in your favor. You are stepping into a season where everything begins to make sense. Not because the past changes, but because your perspective does. What once worked against you will now work for you, and you will walk with the confidence of someone who understands that every chapter, even the painful ones, we're building toward something extraordinary. Listen to me with a heart ready for relationships that reflect healing, not hurt. I am preparing divine connections, people whose presence will align with your destiny, not your wounds. For too long, you attracted relationships that mirrored your pain. People who resonated with your broken places. People who reflected your fears. People who were drawn to the parts of you that were hurting. Not because you were unworthy, but because your spirit was still navigating survival. You accepted less than you deserved because you didn't yet know how deeply you were loved. You tolerated chaos because you mistook consistency for comfort. You carried more than you should because you were used to being strong alone. But now that you are healing, truly healing, your connections are changing. I'm bringing people into your life who will see you as I see you. People who will honor your growth. People who will speak life into your purpose. People who will stand beside you, not drain you. People who will inspire you, not confuse you. People who challenge you in healthy ways and encourage you in holy ways. Relationships that pour into you instead of pulling from you. Connections that reflect where you're going, not where you've been. These divine connections will not be forced. They will not be manipulative. They will not require you to shrink, compromise your identity, or silence your needs. They will not resurrect old wounds. They will not trigger your insecurities. Instead, they will feel like alignment, like confirmation, like peace. You will feel supported, understood, and valued. You will feel seen, not for your perfection, but for your authenticity. You will feel safe in ways you haven't felt in years. These connections will help you grow because they were sent by me, shaped for you, and timed perfectly for your next season. And hear me clearly. You will not have to chase these relationships. You will not have to beg for them. You will not have to convince anyone of your worth. Divine connections flow naturally because they were written into your story before you ever knew you needed them. They are coming, not through striving, but through alignment. As you continue to heal, your circle will shift. Your standards will rise. Your heart will open. Your discernment will strengthen. And the relationships that enter your life will match the new version of you. The stronger you, the clearer you, the wiser you, the restored you. These connections are part of your destiny, not your damage. And they are already on their way. Hear this with the authority that shatters every lingering chain around your spirit. The strength you are stepping into now, this strength formed through healing, clarity, and renewal, will break every cycle that once held you captive. Cycles of fear, cycles of insecurity, cycles of self-sabotage, cycles of emotional exhaustion, cycles of unhealthy relationships, cycles of repeating old patterns without understanding why. You have lived in loops that drained your hope, loops that kept you stuck, loops that stole years from your life. Some cycles were inherited, some learned, some formed through trauma, and some created through survival. But now those cycles are breaking, fully, permanently, irreversibly. The reason they are breaking now is not because you are trying harder, but because you are becoming stronger. The strength rising in you is not the strength of striving but of awareness. You are seeing patterns clearly. You are noticing red flags early. You are hearing my voice louder. You are trusting yourself more. You are no longer governed by the same emotional triggers. You no longer settle for what diminishes you. You no longer tolerate what harms your peace. You no longer cling to what your spirit has outgrown. This strength is not loud but quiet and undeniable. It is the strength of someone who finally understands who they are and what they deserve. And with this strength, cycles cannot continue, not because they disappeared, but because you are no longer the version of yourself who responds to them. The cycle may try to repeat, but you will not participate. The trigger may surface, but it will not control you. The temptation may appear, but you will have the clarity to resist it. The enemy may whisper lies, but my truth will drown out every deceptive voice. You are breaking free not by force, but by identity, by knowing who you are, by remembering whose you are, and by embracing the healing that has reshaped your entire foundation. As these cycles break, new patterns will form, patterns of peace, patterns of purpose, patterns of emotional stability, patterns of healthy love, patterns of self-respect, patterns of consistency, patterns of spiritual alignment. You will notice yourself responding differently, moving differently, speaking differently, thinking differently. Not because you are pretending to be healed, but because you are healed in ways you once thought were impossible. This is the power of the strength I am placing in you. It is the power that breaks cycles. And you, yes, you, are stepping into that power now. Listen to me with a seriousness that settles deep into your spirit. The clarity I am giving you in this season will protect you, not just guide you, not just comfort you, but protect you from ever returning to the people, the places, the behaviors, and the mindsets that once broke you. There were times in your past when confusion blurred your judgment. Times when loneliness made you vulnerable to what was unhealthy. Times when fear disguised itself as familiarity, pulling you back into cycles you didn't have the strength to escape. Times when your heart wanted connection so desperately that you tolerated what damaged your spirit. Times when hope made you ignore red flags, and exhaustion made you settle for less than you deserve. But now, clarity is rising inside you, steady, strong, unmistakable. This clarity is not just intellectual. It is spiritual. It is emotional. It is instinctive. It is the kind of clarity that does not come from thinking harder but from healing deeper. You are seeing things now that you once excused. You are recognizing patterns you once tolerated. You are understanding motivations you once misread. You are noticing the difference between what brings peace and what brings pressure. You are discerning the difference between what aligns with your spirit and what drains your soul. This is not you overthinking. This is you awakening. This is you aligning with truth. This is you seeing through the eyes of someone who has survived it too much to ever be blind again. This clarity will protect you from going backward. It will guard you from relationships that once entangled you. It will shield your heart from voices that once manipulated you. It will keep you from choosing what harms you simply because it feels familiar. It will remind you of who you have become, not who you were when pain clouded your vision. You will find that certain invitations no longer appeal to you. Certain environments no longer feel like home. Certain conversations no longer pull you in. Certain behaviors no longer fit who you are. That is clarity at work. That is healing at work. That is growth becoming your shield. And hear me, this clarity is not temporary. It will not fade when life gets busy. It will not disappear if you face pressure. It will not weaken when emotions shift. This clarity is rooted in transformation, the kind that comes from pain you endured, lessons you learned, and strength you gained in the darkest moments. Because you paid for this clarity with tears, with heartache, with sleepless nights, with courage. It is now yours to keep. And it will ensure that you never again lose yourself in the shadows of who you used to be. You will not return to what broke you, because clarity is lighting your path, guarding your heart, and guiding your steps. Receive this truth with the reverence of someone finally ready for their next chapter. You are being positioned for blessings that require the healed version of you, not the wounded, weary, or wounded version you once were. There were blessings in your past that you prayed for, cried for, begged for, but they could not come then, not because you were unworthy, but because you were not yet whole enough to hold them. Some blessings require stability. Some require discernment. Some require emotional maturity. Some require boundaries. Some require self-worth. Some require spiritual grounding. And the version of you who once lived in survival mode was not ready for what I am now preparing to release. But now, after the healing, after the breakthroughs, after the tears, after the rebuilding, you are becoming someone who can carry what once would have crushed you. Your heart is stronger. Your spirit is calmer. Your mind is sharper. Your identity is clearer. The blessings that are coming to you are not fragile, and you cannot receive them with fragility. They require the version of you that has learned to choose peace over chaos, truth over comfort, growth over stagnation, purpose over distraction. They require the version of you who understands their worth, who guards their energy, who refuses to shrink, who walks with confidence, who knows when to say no and when to say yes. This is why certain things didn't work out before. This is why certain relationships fell apart. This is why certain opportunities were delayed. This is why certain seasons stretched longer than you wanted. I was preparing you, not punishing you. I was developing the character that could sustain what you asked me for. I was teaching you to value yourself so you wouldn't sabotage the very gifts you prayed to receive. I was shaping your heart so you would never again confuse attachment for love or attention for intention. I was grounding you so your blessings would not become burdens. And now, you are ready. Not perfect, not flawless, but healed in the ways that matter most. You can hold joy without fearing it will disappear. You can receive love without abandoning yourself. You can walk in purpose without second-guessing your calling. You can embrace opportunities without sabotaging them with self-doubt. The healed you, this version, this strengthened, awakened, aligned version, is the one I have prepared to step into blessings that were always meant for you. You were not denied. You were being developed. And now, the blessings that match this healed version of you are finally within reach. Hear me with the relief your soul has been longing for. Your heart is entering a season of rest. True rest. Deep rest. Restorative rest. The kind of rest that returns to you everything exhaustion once stole. You have lived through years where your heart was strained. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You carried stress like a weight on your chest. You held responsibilities that drained you. You navigated hardships that stretch your emotions thin. You endured disappointments that left your heart bruised. Even when your body rested, your heart never did. Even in quiet moments, your mind was loud. Even in peace, you were bracing for the next storm. But that season is ending now. Not because life becomes perfect, but because your heart is healing. Your inner world is calming. Your spirit is finding stability. I am giving you rest that goes far beyond sleep, rest that reaches your nerves, your thoughts, your emotions, your breath. The rest I am giving is not surface level, it is soul level. It is rest that silences the internal noise, rest that softens the tension you've been carrying for years, rest that teaches your heart how to breathe again. Rest that replaces dread with hope and heaviness with peace. This rest will show itself in unexpected ways. You will notice anxiety releasing its grip. You will notice your thoughts slowing down instead of spiraling. You will notice peace settling into your mornings instead of pressure. You will notice your emotions stabilizing instead of swinging. You will notice your energy returning, your joy resurfacing, your creativity awakening. You will notice that your heart is no longer bracing for impact. It is settling into safety. Your heart is finally resting because it is finally healing. And hear me, this rest is not temporary. It is not a brief pause before another wave of exhaustion. This rest is a new rhythm, a new normal, a new condition of your soul. I am teaching you how to exist from a place of peace rather than survival. How to move from groundedness rather than fear, how to live from fullness rather than depletion. Your heart will no longer run on empty. It will no longer fear collapse. It will no longer carry emotions it was never meant to bear alone. You are entering a season of rest that strengthens you, restores you, rebuilds you, and reintroduces you to joy in its purest form. This rest is my gift to you. Because you have fought long enough, carried enough, endured enough. Now, your heart can finally breathe. Hear me with the fullness of hope your spirit has longed to feel again. You are walking into a future that will not resemble the pain of your past, but will instead mirror the promise I have spoken over your life since the beginning. For far too long, you expected the past to repeat itself. You lived with a quiet fear that the trauma you endured would follow you, that old patterns would resurface, that familiar storms would circle back. You measured every new day by the wounds of yesterday, bracing yourself for disappointment even in moments of peace. Not because you lacked faith, but because life taught you to anticipate pain before you allowed yourself to expect promise. But hear me now clearly, your future will not echo your past. What once broke you will not break you again. What once controlled you has lost its grip. What once defined you no longer has a voice in your story. The season of repeating cycles, of revisiting old wounds, of reliving painful chapters is closing permanently. The chapter you are walking into bears no resemblance to the storms you've come out of. It is built on a different foundation: healing, clarity, peace, strength, and promise. You are not walking into familiar patterns. You are walking into fulfilled purpose. Your future has been shaped by every moment you refused to give up, every prayer you whispered in exhaustion, every step you took while trembling, every tear you cried in silence, every moment you pressed forward even when hope felt distant. I have been using all of it, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Not to weaken you, but to strengthen you. Not to drain you, but to deepen you. The version of you who is stepping into this next season is not the same version who endured the last one. You are healed in ways you once thought impossible. You are grounded in ways you once only prayed for. You are wiser in ways life once denied you. You are stronger in ways pain once tried to prevent. Your future will be marked by peace that stays, joy that returns, opportunities that align, relationships that nourish, and clarity that directs your every step. You will feel the difference not just in what happens to you, but in who you have become. You will sense the shift in the way you think, respond, love, choose, and hope. You will recognize that you are not living in the shadow of your past. You are walking in the light of a promise that has always been waiting for you. And hear me, the promise over your life is not fragile. It is not conditional. It is not at risk of failing. It is anchored in my intention for you, in my love for you, in my plans that were written long before your pain ever began. The future you are stepping into is not built on fear, but on fulfillment. Not on wounds, but on wisdom. Not on heartbreak, but on healing. You are stepping into a future that will reflect my faithfulness, my goodness, and my presence in ways your past never could. Walk forward. Your promise is finally unfolding. Amen.